game on itch.io. Look in the description if you want to play it for yourself. Not sure if it's free or not. I bought it in a bundle. So it's either free or it's in a bundle for $10. But, let's play this. Let me know what you think of the new lighting setup. I think it's too violent, but maybe I just need to change the settings around. I don't know. I'm playing this game specifically to test the lighting and see how I like it. I broke my lamp, needed new lamps, got new lamps. Feel free to support me on Ko-Fi or Throne. Alright. Boss, that's all we get. Just boss. I'm pretty excited. This game looks super cute. So you're sure we can trust this friend of yours? This is info. It'll be a crying shame if you're wrong about this. Guy. Boss and Guy. Cool. This guy is someone to ride the river with. He'd never sell me bunk information. That town has struck gold. That's what he heard. Heard? He just heard about it? What kind of source is that? We can't go off rumors, you nutcase. But think about it. We'll be living like English kings if we take over a supply like that. What else are we gonna do? The last job was a bust. We ain't got nothing left. Alright. I've had some bad luck and some run... We've had some bad luck and I run low on supplies. We'll take that town by the hook or crook, and if they ain't got that gold, we can just take them for what they do have and skedaddle. The lookout will go early in the morning, see what we're up against, but I reckon we can bulldoze this burg and have some fun either way. Make sure to bring us back some juicy details, won't you, tomboy? He firmly slaps you on the back. Laughter fills the camp around the roaring fire. Sounds like you'll be riding at sun up to check the town out. You'll feel it's best to get some sleep. Man, I am just stumbling over every other word. The desert is an orange haze. Scorched sands whip up around your horse's legs. The sun hot against your back as you ride towards the town. Ah, cute! There's not much to be done while riding. The desert is lonely, harsh, bare. Only thing to do is think. You don't like being alone with your thoughts so often for so long. But you always are alone as the lookout. Alone being the odd stick of the gang. No one talks to you unless they need something. You daydream as you ride, like usual. Flights of fancy, of settling down somewhere. You're tied to Curly Wolf and his gang, though. Dish that bitch! Is it so much to ask to be able to live in peace? To not have to fight for survival, always on the run? Maybe that's what your life will always be like, gang or not. A hunted outcast. They could have sent you off with some playing cards at the very least. Yeah, and you can play Sudoku with yourself. You come to an outcropping near a cliff. Tying up your horse, you approach the edge and see the town come into view. A nice frontier town, small but clearly bustling with people. White painted signs on the wooden buildings glint and bloom in the midday sun. You can't see much else from way up here, and turn to go get your binoculars. You open your saddlebag and pull the metal binoculars out, brushing it against your poncho to dust off the lenses. Hello? Turn it back to walk to the edge. A figure suddenly rounds the corner of the large rock you've decided to set up camp under. Ah! Gah! Out of instinct, your hand snaps to your holstered gun and pulls it trained squarely at the head of this new person. The bird, who seemingly came from nowhere, looks at you, clearly just as surprised and out of sorts from your own presence. He shifts backwards, eyeing your hand on your gun. The air feels very still all of a sudden, and given you have the upper hand, you take a moment to look at who you just crossed paths with. He's definitely an outlaw like yourself. Okay, well, there's that. A rugged beak shining in the sun centers a face you admittedly find charming. Gay. His face and arms are marked with scars, and a large sawed-off shotgun hangs in his holster. Since he's a bird, you know to be wary, just like he'll know to be wary of a canid like yourself. Howdy there. What's your name, partner? Joseph. What a good name. I like Joseph. Oh, I just flashed back to Joseph Coy. Or I think he goes by Joe Coy. But all of his jokes about his mom, Joseph. And what are you doing all the way out here, Joseph? You seem a dreadfully long way away from where one might think you should be. I could say the same. Fuck. Words are hard. Okay, I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna drink some water. Could ask you the same question. You stare him dead in the eye. He's pretty calm for someone having a gun pointed at his head, but you can see some of his feathers quivering. Poor guy. I do like that the characters are animated. Oh, does our character have one arm? I thought that maybe it was tucked up under his poncho. But that's cool. Neat. A little detail. Okay. Jesus. I gave our character the thick accent, and I meant to give Joseph the thick accent. So we're gonna do that. Because it'll make me happy, okay? Were you trying to sneak up on me, Joseph? Rob me blind where no one else can see? I bet you thought a fella missing an arm would be easy. No, sir. I had no idea you were here till I walked around this here rock. He pats the red stone beside him, as if to make a point. Sir, what in Sam Hill? You lower your gun like your shoulder joint just gave out and let it hang there. In all my years, no stranger has ever called me sir. Well, color me surprised, fella. You'd have to be blind or full as a tick to not see an outstanding young gentleman. Is this bird smoking? Ooh, naughty boy. All right. Now you're just licking my boots. The hawk puts a hand to his chest. God is my witness, I ain't lying to you. You holster your gun and snort a small laugh. May he strike you down as penance then. What are you doing out here, picking flowers? The smile drops from his face. He stops short and swallows like he can't bear to say the next words. I'm part of the Black Vulture gang. I'm on lookout here to survey this here burg. That's very forward of you, considering I just had a gun pointing your way. I'm part of the Curly Wolf gang. I'll be damned, you boys have been... Oh, this is Joseph. My bad. I need to stop slouching. It's bad for me. I'll be damned. You boys have been all over the West. What brings you right here? Much the same as you, I would imagine. Rumors of gold. You'd have it just right. Well, I can imagine what my boss might want me to do coming across someone who's sticking their beak into our business. Joseph tenses up, feathers ruffled. He understands full well what you mean. Conflicting interests and all. But he's not here. It would be a real waste of a good bullet to use on you. Is that an insult, or are you trying to make a bash on me? The small jibe is enough to make you stop talking and search for the binoculars you threw when you pulled your gun. Gay panic. Turning your face away to hide the blood rushing to your cheeks under your dark fur. You dust the binoculars off again and walk over to where Joseph is standing, his eyes keenly trained on the town. Don't need no binoculars then, huh? No, sir. These eyes can see all the face of those people down there, no problem. Sir, again. Maybe it's just a habit of his to call people that. Say, why do you keep calling me sir? I ain't your boss. You just that much of a polite suck-up? Costs nothing to be kind on the trail, I found. Aw. What'll most call you then? You thought this might come up, of course. You're surprised it took this long for him to ask about who you are, what you are. Most would say tomboy, I would think, or other things I wouldn't repeat in such a polite company. And what would you call yourself? The question takes you by surprise, something else no one's ever asked you. I'd call myself a man. Huh, is that so? He's gonna think you're a nut now. You just know it. Oh my god. Are we a trans character? My heart, be still. You'd better be getting on your horse right now and riding back, than staying another second round this stranger. How funny. I guess we're in the same boat if I'm picking up what you're putting down. Might say that the guys can't don't use shove the queer to talk about money. Oh, a couple of trans folks up in here. You nod at him, unsure whether to laugh or not. Neither of you seem sure what to say now. Instead, you hold the binoculars to the bridge of your nose and investigate the town, looking down into the valley. After a spell of looking at nothing in particular in silence, you take the... Oh god. I have a second water here. Griffin made me drop it, so it is trying to overflow. Sorry. All my water bottles are dirty, so I keep drinking these heckin' carbonated waters. Sparkling waters, that's what they're called. And I want some plain water, but I'm lazy. After a spell looking at nothing in particular in your silence, you take the binoculars away from your face again, readjusting to the late morning light. You glance at Joseph's keenly trained eyes and back to the town. You can't help but stare at the clump of a couple dozens or so buildings. You couldn't help but think about the real people's lives going on down there every day. Deaths and celebrations, harvests and prayers. How you were gonna hurt them. How you were both gonna hurt them. Don't get it. Joseph's voice snaps you out of your staring. Why would Black Vulture want to come here? There's nothing here, no mines to use, no bank, and they sure as hell ain't rich by the looks of things. Maybe they struck a new vein? This is a miner's town after all. But you're right, something strange is going on. Well, two sets of eyes are better than one, right? You want to work together? You watch my back, I watch yours. Deal? A huge feathered hand shoots out at you in expectation. You look at his face and you both lock eyes for a moment. You're not sure what, but there's something in his eyes that makes you feel seen, being looked at rather than through. Ah, camaraderie! I love it. You gently grab his hand, and a second winged hand clasps on and gives your whole arm a big shake. Whoa, camera though, I don't need to lose another. Whoa. I like this Joseph fella. He lets go and puts his hand on his hip, smiling at you. Hey, come on now. Let's get on down there. He walks past you and heads towards a winding, rocky pathway down the side of the valley cliff. You take a moment to look at the town again, walking along the cliff edge to catch up with Joseph, wondering if you could see how red your face had been under your black fur. What was I gonna say? What about the horse? You're just gonna leave the horse there? Damn. Poor horse. Clambering down the cliff face, the shade of the valley is a welcome change after your long ride in the sun. The climb down is quiet, only a few grunts and gripes, a couple of voices of concern from Joseph you quickly wave off. You both approach a wooden sign you spotted a little ways off, swaying in the desert wind. It looked relatively new, a board hanging on two chains, a word carved into the wood. Can you read it? It was only a single word, but you couldn't piece together quite how to say it. No. Well, I'm sure someone will tell us. You notice some familiar smells drift on the wind as a gust blows through the town past you. Tobacco smoke, whiskey, stewing meat from somewhere. It reminded you of the camp. Walking more into the town, you get a better look at the buildings that were just dots up on the cliff. There was a saloon, at least seemingly one of the older buildings in town, as well as what you guessed was the sheriff's building, although the sign outside looked to be busted up. Everything else you could see from here seemed to be houses and whatnot. Leftovers clearly made by miners not built to be sturdy or last long, but had been fixed up to be livable for folks. Clearly the people here like this place, and if they get a whiff of why you're both here... Alright, partner. I say if we get given any evil eyes, we hightail it out of here. Ain't worth getting shot in a place like this. Sure thing. We got each other's backs, remember? You nodded him. We'd best get talking to people. Daylight's burning. Oh, here comes someone now. Sure enough, you see a short figure approaching you from the sheriff's office. You hear the pound of a cane on the dirt as they limp towards you with vigor in their step. When they get closer in the haze of the desert heat obscures them less, you see a smartly dressed old lizard standing before you both. Oh my god, I love him! Cane in one hand and a metal flask in the other. Howdy, fellas. I'm Sheriff. Welcome to Clemency. Clemency? Ah. A pleasure to meet you, Sheriff. He gave the lizard an expectant look, waiting for your name. My name is Sheriff. Just Sheriff. That's all you need. And what do you call yourselves? My name's Joseph, and my associate here is... He gestured towards you and turned to look at you, a subtle panic running across his eyes. You realize that he just realized you never gave your name. What is your name? Oh, Robin? That's great. I love that. Robin. Pleasure to meet you. You said this while looking at Joseph, resisting the urge to wink at him before looking back to the sheriff. So, what brings you two to our fine town? Griffin is being a little poo today, so I don't expect this is the last time he's going to interrupt. I'm gonna put my hand up to hold this door closed because he keeps trying to open it. And I don't want him in my clothes. We're just riding through. Needed a rest stop. There a problem with that? Joseph nudges you with his elbow a bit. Glancing at his eyes, you can tell he's saying, don't be so rude. No, not at all. I'm sure the closest thing we have to a welcome committee. Oh, I'm just the closest thing we have to a welcome committee. And it's always nice to see some new faces all the way out here. How long will you be staying? The saloon has some rooms if you'd like to stay the night. That's awful kind offer, Sheriff, but we'll be gone before nightfall. At least that's the idea. Maybe we'll like this town so much we stay. Joseph and Sheriff both chuckle, and Sheriff sighs. Well, you boys let me know if you need anything else. I'll be at home most likely. Will do. Yep. With a tip of the hat, Sheriff turned and started walking back to the building at the end of the road. With the lizard out of earshot, Joseph turns to you. So, partner, what's our plan? You look around the town for a moment, surveying the handful of people walking about, talking to each other around their houses. Taking in the warm wind blowing past you with a deep breath. We get talking to folks. And what, they just run their mouth about all the gold they found? No, but I reckon a town this size, if they've struck something, there'll be a buzz about it. We ask them about themselves, about the town. Someone will spill sooner or later. Alright then. Well, I got a pretty good peep at the place on the way down. We got a saloon just here, we got some sort of town hall over on the far side, and we got sheriff's station at the end of the road by the looks. Where to? Saloon. That seems like the most chatty place. Let's check out the saloon. I reckon if anyone knows anything about these rumors, it'll be in there. Alrighty then. I love this game. Walking through the doors of the saloon, you're hit with the very familiar smell of tobacco and alcohol hanging in the air. A couple patrons drink and talk quietly in the corner, not taking any notice of you two. You see a dozen or so tables, and looking up, there's a second floor with the rooms sheriff mentioned. I'm not used to talking this much. I also just realized I'm not wearing my necklaces. Maybe that's why I felt so weird. The second boy, man. Alright, Roadrunner maybe? A vulture? Howdy there! Your attention is grabbed by an excitable and friendly voice coming from a short bird standing behind the bar, who's now grabbing a couple glasses. My name's Bartholomew. What can I get you, Phyllis? Griffith? He started wiping the glasses expectantly, glancing between you both as he walked a few steps from the doors to stand at the bar. I'll get a beer. Alright, and you? I'll, have what he said. Yup, coming right up. He set the mugs down and disappeared through the door behind the bar into a back room. I don't have any money on me, Joseph. Don't worry about that, it's on me. He pat you on the back with a big wing a couple of times, but withdrew his hand when he saw you wince a little. Oh, sorry. Was I too hard? No, you're fine. You hadn't winced for the pain. You just weren't used to someone touching you like that, at least. Friendly-like. Oh! My baby little rabbit! I just want to protect you. Bartholomew reappeared with 2 glass bottles, tipping them into the mugs with satisfying glugs before taking a couple coins from Joseph. Thank you kindly. You both take a sip. It's so hard to have so many different voices. I gotta be honest with you. You both take a sip. Joseph seems to enjoy it, but you find it a bit more bitter. You try not to pull a face. Not like it? You smile weakly. Not my thing. Noted. He winks at you and you feel your cheeks redden a little. You both keep drinking while the bartender busies himself behind the bar. The saloon is quiet. A piano sits gathering dust in the corner, seemingly untouched for many moons. Wind whistles through a gap in the saloon doors, carrying the sound of the desert insects. Slow day, huh? You look up from your drink and see he's looking at the bartender, who doesn't seem to have taken any notice. He glances at you both and realizes rather sheepishly who is being talked to. Oh, beg your pardon? Slow day? Nah, this is about the usual. Gets a lot more lively in the evenings when the sun goes down. Everyone comes here to take a load off. So, you know everyone here pretty well, then? Well, of course. Not exactly a big town. We're a pretty tight-knit lot here. Why is that? This is a mining town, right? These places usually explode with people. Ah, well, I can't say I know much. He looks oddly unsettled by your question. How long you live here for? He pricks up again from whatever you said that troubled him, the brightness returning to his voice. Oh, well, I'd say somewhere close to 8 years. That's a darn long time. Yeah, I suppose it is. What are these little bubbles next to our friend's head here? Or, like, spectacles? I don't know. What made you stay? Never mind staying. How'd you even find this place? I never even heard of it till we stumbled past. Bartholomew's cheery smile dropped a little, morphing into something more wistful, like the face of someone looking at an old, now bittersweet photograph. You boys ask a lot of questions, don't ya? You and Joseph look at each other for a moment, expecting the other to say something, but nothing comes out. I don't mind. To give it a fair shake, this town ain't the most exciting. It's nice to talk to some New Year's that ain't tired of my squawking already. He gives a little half-hearted chuckle. What is this face he's pulling? Well, I found this place because I heard about there being gold, like a lot of folks I was fixing to get my fill. You and Joseph both lean in a little at the mention of gold. My fiance was running away from home, and I was going with him. We thought we'd go out west and make our fortune. Looking back on it, I get why so many called us foolish. I might have been one of them if it weren't the other way around. But we had our hearts set on it. We followed the road by wagon, and it was damn tough, hellish even. Thank our lucky stars we made it here, Clemency, on a wing and a prayer. That was when we... I'm losing it. That was when we really felt like we were foolish. We got here talking about gold. We almost got ran out of town. I don't know the details, but there's a lot of trouble here when miners ran this place. No one's been digging for decades now, but word hadn't traveled far enough, it seems, to let us know at the time. At first, Sheriff told us to leave, didn't want no more of our kind causing trouble. But when Sheriff saw how stuck we were, How we'd had nowhere else to go, how rough the journey had been on us. Sheriff's nothing if not calm. Could see we weren't troublemakers, just wanted a better life somewhere. Sheriff's a good boy. Fucking hair today, man. He shrugged like there was nothing more to it. With the town's help, we gussied up this here saloon into something I could run, and the rest is history. I'm glad y'all found something here. My back hurts. Yeah, I could say that for sure. Clemency may be small, but it's something real special if you ask me. So there's no gold here. Bartholomew leaned back against the shelves behind him, crossing his arms. Not as far as I know. The mines are around here somewhere, but I ain't never seen them. This hasn't been a mining town for a long time, and folks here don't think of it as one. You do well to keep that in mind. He tapped aside his beak as if to say, if you catch my drift. Even so, I will be interested in the history of the town. Afraid that well runs dry here, but there's others who have been here far longer than I have. You can always talk to Sheriff if you haven't yet. Sheriff made this place what it is today. Want to know something? That's the lizard to talk to. Thank you, Bartholomew. No problem, it's my pleasure. Bartholomew stood up from his lean and stretched his back and arms a little. Flinging his cloth over his shoulders, he picked up a small, clinking and rattling box before walking through to the back room. Daylight's burning. I think we best get going. Agreed. He stood at the bar and waited a moment while Joseph downed his beer, and then yours too. Hope you can hold that. Ah, please. How little you must think of me, only a couple beers. You should have seen me at the Long Branch and Dodge, drank the entire gang on the table. He can't help but smile at his cockiness, unsure whether to believe him. You briefly think back on the times the gang had gone to bars. You're always told to stay outside, don't wander off. A dog on a leash waiting for a master to come back. Staring into lamplit streets and hearing the braying crowds all around you, drunken strangers enjoying each other's company as much as their liquor. At first they told you it was dangerous for you to stray too far. Then they started telling you to stay outside after you'd beaten the teeth out of a guy in an alley who you knew had been staring at you. Couldn't have you causing them needless trouble. I see. Quite aggressive, Robin. Damn. Could you imagine beating the teeth out of somebody? That is a lot of beating. Oof. Off so soon? Bartholomew re-emerged into the bar looking expectantly. Well, don't be strangers. You're welcome to come back later when the bar's more lively. My husband would love to meet you both. The casual lilt of his words caught you off guard, and you think you see Joseph stumble a little. Failing to get any words out, he just tips his hat, and you both leave the saloon, stepping back into the dust and dry desert heat. Are you surprised he's gay? I'm not. It's a queer visual novel. Let's see all the queers. I got a paper cut in between my fingers yesterday. On a box while making dinner. Let's go to the sheriff's office. Sheriff should know something, surely. Yes, sir. I doubt we're the only ones who've come looking before. And Sheriff did say to come find him if we need anything. I love the like background art. You can't see it now, but the barrel, the way that the light shines were drawn onto it. I don't know, I liked it. You walk the same direction you saw Sheriff leave, down toward the closest edge of town, through what might be considered the main street for this town bigger. Sheriff's office is modest, one of the smaller buildings in town, a short, square stone block with barred windows and a lopsided wooden door. As you get close to the squat building, Joseph slows down and raises an arm to your chest to slow you as well. Okay, partner, what's the plan here? You and I both know Sheriff is going to be the most paranoid, owl-headed son of a gun in this burg. We can't go waltzing in there shooting our mouths off about just anything. Yeah, you're right. All we really need to know is if Sheriff's going to put up a fight. Somehow I feel like they're not your usual lawman. You look around thinking for a bit, two halves of a tattered signs swing in the wind on clattering chains in front of the building. It seems it had said sheriff once, and the edges of it had the remnants of bullet holes shattered in charred wood. I say we tell him what's really happening. To call Joseph's face incredulous at that moment would have been an understatement. He scoffed a little out of curiosity, rubbing his chin with a feathered hand and trying to think what you could mean. What are you saying? We admit we're here acknowledging the corn? Sort of. I think we need to tell Sheriff that there's outlaws coming, and we're worried, about the town. That's a dangerous play. Look, the Sheriff's gonna have a good idea why we're stupid around if we don't have a simple, honest reason to throw off the scent. It's easier to lie when there's some truth to it. Joseph rubbed his chin again and sighed. I think so too, but still, I can't help feel jumpy walking into a lion's den. You knew what he meant. For people like you, a sheriff's office was never where you wanted to wind up. Walking into the office together. Okay, I think it's a good idea to tell Sheriff. And I hope that we end up leaving the gang like our respective gangs, and we just stay together in the town and maybe help out the sheriff or something, because he's an old lizard. Okay. Walking into the office together, Joseph ducks to clear the door away. You find the inside to be much more well kept than the outside, which it clearly seems of wear and tear in its time. Sunlight and dust in equal measures came in through the windows. Landing upon the desk of Sheriff, who was currently rapidly filling a piece of paper with pencil in hand. After you close the door behind you, you both wait for a few seconds for Sheriff to notice you. Before you can politely knock on the closed door for attention, Sheriff raises a finger on a pencil held in hand to ask for a moment's more waiting. This was followed by a hasty scribbling onto the end of the piece of paper before the pencil was thrown onto the desk with little regard. Two keen eyes land on you and Joseph. Howdy there, fellas. Thought I might be seeing you again. Howdy again, Sheriff. Now, what could I be helping you both with today? Well... Joseph turned to you, locking eyes. You saw the slight wild panic someone caught in the trap and looking for a way out. Do you protect this town? Sheriff looked miffed, unsure how to respond, like someone had just asked if the sky was blue. As much as anyone else who lives here, yes. What does that mean? I thought you were a lawman. Sheriff regarded you with some annoyance, still seemingly puzzled over what you were asking. I think I see the confusion here. I'm not a lawman. In fact, I say I'm not a man at all, or a woman. Sheriff kept looking at you both, trying to gauge your reactions, whether you could be trusted, you guessed. My name is Sheriff. That's the moniker I've chosen, and I'd ask you kindly to refer to me as so or not at all. Joseph tipped his hat politely. Not a problem, Sheriff. Do you run this town, then? That would also be a no. I'm a founder, you might say, but I don't solely run this town. You boys are asking some real strange questions. Is there something I ought to know? Joseph had faltered, and now you did too. This isn't what you just planned. You were just saying the first things that came to mind, fixing on Sheriff with a calm pair of eyes, but a shakiness in the knees. Maybe you hoped Sheriff would say something that would change things, change what you were both there for. Before you could fall over, Joseph placed a hand on your shoulder, and you tensed before he gave it a light squeeze, stepping in. We heard from some other fellows on the trail that there were outlaws around coming this way even. I see. Well, you boys shouldn't worry. We know how to care for ourselves in clemency. We don't get trouble around here often, but we make sure to run them off before anything starts. So you've been here a while then? Yeah, ages. How'd you end up living here anyhow? What's the story? You said you're some kind of founder? Don't get it twisted now. I'm not really a founder. Hard to explain. I used to be a marshal, got sent here 30 years ago already? And you liked it so much you stayed. Joseph gives a little bellow of a laugh, but Sheriff is much more half-hearted. No, well, I wish I could say things back then were as good as they are now. So maybe this is just a town of queer folk. Sheriff stood up, grabbing the cane. Slouchy little sloucher! Slouchy little sloucher, stop slouching! I'm talking to you, not just myself. Sheriff stood up, grabbing the cane by the desk that thumped softly as Sheriff started pacing a little through the small office, stretching stiff legs. You boys know this used to be a mining town, right? Of course. Well, I used to be the lawman of this mining town. Greenhorn out on their first assignment trying to keep peace here. What a joke. The miners had it out for each other. There was nothing but bad blood and gold fever. I learned all too well during that time what it looks like, gold fever in the eyes. Hello, Weasley. And what people will do to satisfy it. But you're gonna have to move to someplace else. This is a hard place to scritches. Scritches, I'm a baby. I'm just a baby. You dribbled on me. You sick nasty. Get out of here. I'm not petting a drooling baby anymore. Jesus, she drooled on me. What a gross feeling. I hate it. Anyway. That town was a constant powder keg, and I was only one marshal. Felt like there was nothing I could do. Felt like I needed to do more. Needed to do something calm the place. I asked marshals who sent me. They don't give a hoot. If anything, they tell me keep my hands off, let them figure it out for themselves. Shoot them if they step out of line. That never sat right with me. If there's something you should know about me, about how I conduct my business and take care of this town, it's that I care about justice. Real justice. Not the justice others suck up to, claim to care about. I learned very quickly that the law is not about real justice. Sheriff punctuated those words, said with such fire, with bangs of the cane on the floor. The law of the marshals is not the justice I recognize. It's why I took on the name Sheriff. I wanted the name for myself. They didn't deserve it. Strange, I know. Thank the Lord, much good he done me, that I met at least one like mind in that town. Sometime in the winter, we had a caravan arrive in town. People who had been traveling long across the trail, needing somewhere to stay for a spell. Had some to sell, swell, furs and such, anything to help get by. Friendly folks. I enjoyed their company, spent a night drinking with them around their wagons. The miners didn't take kindly to them, didn't trust them. That was a week I'll never forget. Constant accusations of stealing and flare-ups. Sorry, my phone is being distracting. Stealing and flare-ups, shouting matches almost ended in drawn irons. The miners here were so darn jumpy and owl-headed about the slightest things. 3 days later, a miner turns up dead, stabbed in his sleep. Oh, shit. The miners all accused one of the traitors of doing it. A Mexican fella claimed it was his knife that did the deed. I had to arrest him, held him in the cell here. I was half the somewhat rusted metal bars with the cane rang out in the room. The traitors all came to tell me that I was wrong, that he'd never do something of the sort. They helped push me in the right direction. I'd already had some suspicions about the miners' claims. A lot of accusations had been flying around about the Mexicans and the Indians traveling in the caravans. I did a little investigating and found that the miner had been killed by one of his friends. Another feud about gold, some stolen or missing, and his so-called friend had killed him for it. The miners wouldn't believe it, insisted the man of the sale was guilty. I wonder if maybe they just couldn't see what I could. See things through my eyes. I realize I'm really leaning forward, and that's adding to my slouching. But I always lean forward to reach my keyboard. Yes, we read this. Okay. It felt like a mockery of justice, everything I cared about. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Early the next morning, I asked the traders to leave and take their friend with them. Fair. Sheriff noticed how intently you were both listening, watering eyes flicking between you both. Anyway, that's a lot of blabbing for me already. Long story short, I kicked the miners out for the better. You make it sound like it was real easy. How'd you get that many miners out to just abandon gold? I did what I had to, and I have no regrets or weight on my soul for it. Really, getting them out, that was the easiest part, I suppose. We moved and rebuilt some of the town, further from the mines. We all wanted a fresh start. The years since have been hard, very hard. I don't have this stick because I've been sitting on my jollies gazing at the sunsets. This town may be small, but it's a lot of work to keep going. Sheriff turned and went to sit at the desk again, the chair creaking beneath old bones. Don't take my grapping to think I'm not thankful for this place, though. I've done a lot for it, but it's just done us much more even in return. How do you mean? I can't say I've ever really had somewhere I'd live do so much for me. Sheriff sighed softly, looking out the windows into town, a clear view of the cobbled-together houses cascading down the shallow hillside. Clemency has given me somewhere to live. I had many hopes when I chose to stay in this town to try and make something of it. I've worked hard to earn the respect of those who live here, as a person, not as an authority. People here don't see me as an oddity. They don't fear me. They don't mock or interrogate others for how they live. This ain't just a community, it's a family. We're all far from our homes, from the people who made us, but here we can make ourselves what we want to be. Aw, that's nice. That's nice. It sounds so nice. I love this game. Sorry, I'm like not commentating at all, but it's just because I'm just so in love with this game. A town of runaways who don't got to keep running anymore. Sheriff stared out the window for a few more moments. The sun was a bright golden shine, crossing wistful eyes. Turning back to you, Sheriff pulled back into the desk and got comfortable once more. Anyway, that's enough said for me. Those outlaws all you wanted to talk about? Yeah, I think so. You wish you had more questions to ask, more to say, more to hear about, but no other words escaped your maw except, thank you. Don't mention it, and thank you, too, for the tip-off. I'll keep these old peepers peeled. Yeah, thank you for talking, Sheriff. We'll be on our way now. I didn't have one more question for you. Oh, I did. We did. You still with those marshals? In contact with them? I quit the day I rebelled against the miners. Never heard from them again. Joseph nodded, tipping his hat, and Sheriff tipping in return. You stepped out the station into the blinding sun together. Could you imagine how hot it was without, like, any air conditioning or anything? I can, like, because I live in the desert, obviously, but, Jesus. How exhausting it must have been. Oh my god, my hair! Alright. The dry desert air is warm in your lungs. Oh, I love that feeling. Blazing afternoon sun bakes the ground beneath you as you walk near the edge of town again. Your throat feels tight, feet sore. There's a gentle pounding of blood in your head, accompanied by a familiar piercing ache. Everything seems hazier than it usually is. Thoughts are swimming. You're fine. Just keep walking. You almost bump into Joseph as he stops short, looking around again, searching for anything you might have missed. You look as well, but the sun seems too bright somehow. You look down at your feet to shield your eyes, staring at the tiny dunes of your footprints in the dust. Alright, so where to now? I think there's only one place of interest left. You heard what he said, but it didn't quite stick with you. Yeah, sure. Should we get going there then? Again, hearing but nothing stays. Your thoughts feel like just caught fish wriggling from your hand. Alright then, let's go. Yeah, let's keep moving. Joseph starts walking away and you follow. You try to follow. Your feet move, but they don't land where you want and you stumble a little. Joseph looks around at you as you stand there staring at your feet again. Hey, what's the matter, partner? I feel a little dizzy. Heat stroke? You doing all right? Didn't say anything. He placed his hands on your shoulders and twisted you to face him, looking down into your face. Yeah, you're looking a little sick there. Let's go sit down a spell. He started walking with a hand on your shoulder, guiding you over to a ledge with a shallow drop you could both sit on and hang your legs over. You felt better sitting down, more stable. You hear the rustle of Joseph unclipping something from the back of his belt, seeing him pull around a canteen between the two of you. When's the last time you had real drink? Must be mighty thirsty if you're feeling that dizzy. Of course, how could you have forgotten? You've been riding and walking all day, but hadn't had a drop of anything since you set out. Although you weren't sure what Joseph had brought with him. Ha! What's that look for? You think I got liquor in here? He chuckled a little and unscrewed the cap, letting you smell it a moment before taking a long gulp. Just water, see? Get it down before you collapse on me or something. You sheepishly took the canteen from him and gave it a little wave in his direction as a cheers. You tilt it to your dry mouth and take deep gulps for a few seconds, licking water drops hanging on the edge of your lips after. Bit warm for my liking. Can't beat cold water from a clean stream, but better than drying out like your mama's washing. There's a fruit fly. You son of a bitch, get out of here. Griffin finally fell asleep. Look at that cute little face. Alright, enough of that. You take another swig beforehand to get back to him. Thank you. Don't worry about it. Just pop out next time. Almost hit the dirt just because you didn't say anything. Sorry, it was just... we have a job here. Didn't feel like I could waste time. Pushka! Can't even make time to sit down and drink. You're unlike most of men. Who put a snake in your boots anyway? You gotta slow down a little. Maybe. I mean, what do you do to relax when you're off the job? Relax? Yeah, you know, relax, unwind, take a load off. I know what you mean. The question just caught you off guard a little. You weren't sure how to answer. You'd never given it much thought. What do you do to relax? The gang is always busy with something. Traveling, hiding out, making trouble. Not a lot of time to not do anything. I guess I play cards or sometimes. Mostly... What? Damn it! I tripled over my words and then tapped the button. I hate myself. And I feel like I'm getting stuck with the accent now. I've been talking in it so long. Respectable? You win much? Nope. Ain't about winning anyway. Just helps to pass the time. Yeah, I know what you mean. Me and the boys usually play some rounds of cards, something betting, sometimes betting. Although sometimes, some Although some of them are real sore losers, sometimes it's easier to just let them win and avoid the issue. I beat one of them at poker 5 times in a row, and I swear the rest of the week he was giving me the eyes. Found my hat full of knife holes one morning too, but I think it was just to scare me. At least I hope it was. He gave out a loud guffaw, the real and understained kind that made you doubt a second if the canteen really was just water. He had a nice laugh, he thought, someone actually enjoying themselves. Maybe it was just nice to hear a laugh that wasn't done at you. You a gambling man? A flutter in your chest at the end of the ribs. Not really, never had much to gamble in the first place. Anyways, seemed like a waste. I can respect the restraint. Don't always have to be about money, mind you. When I was younger, me and my papa used to... He stopped for a moment, thinking and scratching his neck. His train of thought slowed by some forgotten memory. We used to play cards after dinner, and a lot of days when I came home, I'd bring pebbles from the river. I always liked how smooth and pretty they looked. All sorts of colors and shapes, all of them different. We kept them on the mantelpiece, and when we played cards, we bet with them. He always won, but it was too much fun for me to ever be mad. Think he did let me win though when I was betting big and was gonna lose one of the rocks I really liked. He always knew which ones were my favorite. Never wanted to see me cry. Oh, look at that. I can't think of any other reason he would have lost to me. Suppose I ought to thank him for teaching me. You weren't sure what to say, so you just give him a soft smile. Family could be so complicated. You didn't want to say the wrong thing. Oh, you know what? He dug into a pocket and produced a tattered-looking packet in his hand that you recognized to be playing cards. How about some Vint and Un? You played that before? Vint and Un? And we could bet with this, He twisted around himself looking for anything he could use as stand-in betting chips. You saw his eyes settle on a small pile of rocks for a moment, but instead noticed a stray feather barely holding onto the back of his hand. He plucked it and placed it between you both, twisting how he sat to face you better. We could bet on this here feather. We'll do it first to 5. You get it if you win. I keep it if I win. You swiveled yourself round to sit cross-legged and face it. Didn't know you were so desperate to gamble, you'd use your own body. Hardy har. Just thought I'd be more interesting than rocks. Oh, well, I thought you were a rock lover. Mr. Rock Collector. Take 'em on the open road, your own little rock circus. A regular Barnum. Joseph couldn't help but smile, even through his fake pouting at your teasing. I don't know if J.H. Barnum was quite the same ring to it. I don't know if J.H. Barnum has quite the same ring to it, frankly. J.H.? Yes, and Joseph Harrier, my initials. Oh, of course. Do you know how to play vintage? I don't fucking know what that is. I don't even know how to say that. No, I don't know how to play. Nope. Alright, rules are simple. I'm the dealer. I deal 2 cards face up. Deal myself 1 face up, 1 face down. Idea is to get as high a number from your cards as you can without going over 21. Oh. Isn't that called blackjack? If you go over 21, it's a bust. Same goes for me, but you need to get a higher number than me to win. Draw is called a poosh. A poosh. You can hit to get another card or stand to stick with what you have. You can hit as many times as you like as long as you're under 21. After you stand, I'll flip over my face down card and have to hit as long as it's under 17. If I go bust or my number is lower than yours, you'd win. If you get 21 exact, then you don't hit or stand and can get a push in that case if I also get a 21. Cards are worth what the number says. Face cards like King, Queen, Jack, or 10. Where things get a little confudding is that ace is worth 1 or 11. Ace is worth 11 in a hand unless it would be a bust, in which case it's a 1. Ace can still be an 11 if it would let you win. Gets a little muddled during the game sometimes, but I ain't trying to cheat you, so don't worry about it too much. Right, let's play. Like I said, first to 5 wins. I've got the king of diamonds and the 3 of diamonds. So that's 13. I would, of course, hit because I drew the ace of diamonds, so that's 14. 4 of clubs, 18. I will stand at 18. The dealer's hand is 2 of diamonds, 8, and an 8, making a 10. Oh, shoot. I clicked out of the game, sorry. Oh, and then he... Fuck. Alright. Dealer's total is higher. Dealer wins this round. That's alright. I have 3 spades and a jack of clubs, making us 13. Hit. You draw the 9 of hearts. Total is now 22. Bust, of course. You got the 8 of clubs and 5 of clubs, so we got 13. 13. Hit. Oh god, I almost misclicked. You draw the 10 of hearts. Total is now 20. Why? I should have misclicked. Fuck. I want this feather. Ah. 2 of clubs. I'll stand at 18 because I'm a chicken shit. He's got 13. 18. Okay, so it was a push. He maybe could have hit again, but I guess it was better to for sure get a push than to get a bust. Alright, so we're at 15. I'll hit. No! This is so hard! He's gonna win! A natural! Yay! I win. I'm gonna stand at 20. I'm not stupid. Okay, he's got 17. I win. Queen of hearts. Oh, I got a 21. I wonder if I'm like supposed to win. 7 hearts, 2 spades. Oh, I could have saved. I will save now. How do I go back? Let me out of this. Yes. Okay. We just keep redoing from here till we win. Total is 13. Let's go again. 19. I'll stand at 19. His total is 8. It's 12. Ah! Push! That's alright. Okay, we're gonna shuffle. Hi, Wisp. Don't rub on the mic, please. You got the 10 of diamonds and the 3 of clubs, making a total of 13. We're the same color, honey! Okay, we're at 13. Let's hit. 3 of spades, total 16. Hit. Lame! The house does not always win. Oh, it starts the game over. Well, that's fair. I got 21. I win. 16 will hit. Nope. Bust. We'll stand at 19. Damn it, a push. Total is 13. I'll stand. Haha! Suck it! He busted, so I win. Total 17. I will stand at 17. He's got an 8. His total 18. Damn it. Okay, we've got 8. We will hit on an 8. Total is now 19. I'll stand at 19. Yay, I win! Okay, we're at 16. I'll stand at 16. He's at 9. 13. 23. He buzzed! I win! You've got the 5 of diamonds, 5 spades. That's 10. We'll hit king of spades. Total is now 20. Stand. Oh, he's got 11. Okay, 15. 25! We did it! We won! Darn, well there you have it. Take your prize, sir. You took the feather in your hand, twisting the smooth quill back and forth a couple of times between your thumb and forefinger. It was thin and tapered and the color of coffee. Thick, uneven stripes of cream white ran all along it from the middle. Thank you, Joseph. Don't mention it. You pocket the feather carefully. We should probably get back to it. As long as you're happy and can stand steady, then I'm ready too. You swung yourself onto your knees and stood up with a sprightly jump. Alrighty, let's get a wiggle on. Yes, sir. There might be a meeting we can drop in on at the town hall. Seems worth a look. That was us. Whoops. Sounds good to me. I wouldn't mind sitting down a spell neither. You both start walking to the outskirts of town, weaving between the clumps of houses and down the dirt banks. You keep walking on a flat stretch, smooth and compacted from the frequent travels of people. I don't know why we're sitting in on this meeting, honestly, because we already know there's no gold. Some townsfolk on their porches wave at you or give a little afternoon as you pass on by. Is it just me, or does it feel like everyone here is nicer than most? Well, maybe, but I ain't complaining. Oh my god, I gotta piss. Fuck. Well, maybe I ain't complaining. He gives an enthusiastic wave to a small kid, shyly hanging around outside their house under the shade. I could get used to folk being nice to me. They not usually? I mean, I don't stray far from the gang a lot of the time. Maybe this is normal. Yeah, I suppose I wouldn't know either. You arrive at the large wooden building you'd been heading towards, noting how similar to a chapel it looked. Joseph walks up the small steps and opens the door with a rattle, holding it open for you. Thank you kindly. He follows you into the short, darkened hallway, closing the door behind him with another wooden rattle. The meeting hall is fairly large and simple and bright. The wood walls are varnished and gleaming from the ample sunlight filtering through the arched windows. Rows of benches line the aisle, half facing away and half facing toward you on each side. Sitting on a nearby bench, turned away from you, is a hunched figure in black. Hearing you come in, the figure jumps to life, rising from the seat. They turn to you both, revealing themselves to be an elderly tortoise holding a small book in one hand. Do my eyes deceive me, or do I see new visitors in our town? He walks with the characteristic slowness of someone his age and nature down to the aisle toward you both, but with a slight spring in his step. He tucks the book under one arm and extends both his hands to shake hands with Joseph and then you. Welcome to Clemency. This is our meeting hall. I'm Jacob. And what might your names be? I'm Joseph. This here is my associate, Robin. Pleasure to meet you. I assure you, the pleasure is all mine. It has been a good while since we have fresh faces around here. Now, you'll have to excuse me, but I have some business to attend to quickly. Feel free to sit and pray here until I return if you wish. Before you can ask any more questions, he shuffles between you both and out the door. You and Joseph look at each other quizzically, sitting down on the nearest bench together. What did he say? Sit and pray here? That's what I heard too. Is this a meeting hall for prayer? The meeting house of God? I don't get it. You can't help but smile at his musings as he looks around the room, looking into the rafters of the ceiling before turning back to you. You lock eyes with him, staring into the honey gold and brown streaked rings of his keen gaze. He smiles at you coyly and looks away. Readjusting in his seat, you realize you were holding your breath. You sit up on the bench more. The hard wood at your back reminds you of church days. All the fuss and protest against your mother about your Sunday best. You don't miss the frills and laces at all. You do miss singing hymns with her. Fair. She had a beautiful voice. I don't remember the last time I prayed. Don't cross my mind very much. Can't say you're missing anything. All the good it'd do you. Not a believer? I don't want to blaspheme, but God's done a whole lot of jack squat to help me all my life. Don't really feel like praying to someone who doesn't care about me or anyone like me for that matter. Which is why I wouldn't have pegged you for a devout man. Joseph laughed a bit, almost mocking the idea. No, I don't think anyone could accuse me of that, not with some of the things I've done. But I still pray, only the Lord knows if He's listening, but it helps remind me what's important to me. A lot of the time I just pray for family, hope they're doing fine. I hope they are too. Oh, I hope they are too. There was a momentary silence between you, like the subtle shift of coals in a long burning fire, now snuffed by the door rattling open again. You looked behind you, and sure enough, it was Jacob shuffling in. He grabbed a broom and briefly swept some dust he had tracked in back outside before closing the door with another rattle. Forgive me the delay. I hope I haven't kept you two from your business. Don't worry yourself. We're doing just fine here. He leaned into and nudged you playfully. Good. So, how may I help you, gentlemen? The word catches you off guard a little, the way it trips off his tongue so easily. No bitterness or mockery. Joseph seems to stall for a moment before a little wry smile returns to his face. He adjusted in his seat to turn to Jacob, who had now taken a seat facing you on another bench. Well, we're just passing through, but I'm curious, you mentioned something about prayer? Well, yes, of course. You must forgive me. I'm clearly far too used to the usuals of this town. His slow drawl of words is comforting, like being told a long-worn story by a grandparent. Oh my God. I knew it. I knew he talked slow, but I didn't want to. This is a meeting hall for friends, Quakers, if you will. I hate it. We're a large Quaker community here in Clemency. Quakers. Oh yeah, there's a lot of you folks over in Pennsylvania, and the likes ain't there. What? Yes, indeed, it's true. In fact, I don't know what that accent was. In fact, that is where I hail from, but I must admit, it has been a long time since I last visited. Sorry, I've got to say, I'm at sea here. I've never even heard of Quakers. I can't say I'm much more enlightened myself. I don't know nothing about them. You both turned to Jacob expectantly. Well, what's the simplest way I can explain our beliefs? He fell into deep thought for a few moments, eyes staring into the middle distance, before coming back to life. We believe that there is that of God in everyone, that we all have an inner light that guides us. We don't perform sermons or sing hymns. Instead, we pray in silence together. There are no guidelines as to what you should do other than try to connect and listen to the light within yourself. We also very strongly believe in pacifism and do what we can to promote peace, denouncing all forms of violence and the degradation of our fellows who walk through the earth with us. It's important to respect the light of God within everyone. That's certainly how I see it. That sounds nice, but, well, things don't often work that way in my experience. Jacob smiled wisely, likely having heard the same sentiment many times before. Yes, there's certainly some that adhere to it more than others in town here, but it's always been an important tenet of our community. So, everyone in this town are Quakers? Yeah, well, yes and no. Many of us are, but some us more so just adhere to the same principles and ideas of nonviolence and so forth. Quakerism isn't enforced, but it bonds this community. Hi, Griff. Huh, interesting. What about old Sheriff? Stop stepping on my keyboard, please. You're gonna pass the text. With the pacifism and whatnot, doesn't seem like it'd be easy. Oh, well, yes. I can see how you might suppose that. Sheriff cares about keeping the peace, but... Sorry. Isn't solely responsible for it. We all are. Griffin, get off of my keyboard. Jesus. So you and Sheriff have been here a while then? Did you found the place or something? You'd have believed it by the tortoise's age. He could definitely be as old as this town. Nah, no, you flatter me, for I'm not quite that pioneering. But I have indeed been here for a long time. If you'd indulge me, I could tell you a little of my story. Please do. Robin took off his hat. Jacob nodded again, drifting off into thought for a moment before coming back with his words. Ah, I kind of love this. Think of a turtle. As I said, I'm from Pennsylvania. During the height of the gold rush, with so many heading west, many Quakers thought it would be of benefit to follow. I was much younger then, much more eager to get on the trail and spread the ideals of the Friends. Although, I can't say my love of Babylon has waned much. He gave a charming coarse and little laugh at his own jibe. The trail was very hard, but I learned much from others in the caravans and towns and cities on the way, so much life and light. I arrived in this here town maybe more chipper than I had left, but it was not to be. His expression softened, drawing into himself, emotion failing to find its way onto his face. I loathe to speak ill of my fellow man, but when I arrived, this was a godless place. The miners had little care for each other. Be it out of greed or desperation, they were consumed by their need for gold, even those who had had their fill. The whole town was tense and unpredictable. Arguments, even violence, would erupt whenever something valuable turned up. A new vein, gold in the river. They'd do whatever they had to get what they wanted. The night I arrived, they told me so-called savages used to reside there. Very little makes my blood boil, I tell you boys what, but the way the miners talked about those Indians. How happily they told me stories about the ways they drove them out. Unspeakable things dare I not and would not repeat to anyone. I tried explaining the Friends' way how even the savages, as they called them, had the light of God in them. How we were equally important in the presence of God's light. That the people we share this earth with were not our enemy. They had no care for my explanations. They had no care for the needs or lives of others than themselves. It made me wonder how Quakers past had convinced people of the evils of slavery, of the importance of peace, building bonds instead of destroying one another. I lost hope. I thought maybe things had changed so much, perhaps this was the people's limit. Tolerance of those who could get in their way was no longer an option. Or perhaps I was just a failure, unable to convince a single soul of giving a damn. The old tortoise looked forlorn, brow furrowed, like he was reliving these moments so vividly that these were the same faces he wore. Then along came Sheriff. Oh, Sheriff. I was a little worried when Sheriff was first assigned to the town. That I'd just have another person to fight with, someone with an authority on the side of the miners. Instead, I found a kindred spirit, someone who actually listened to me and agreed with me on many things. Very quickly, we became firm friends. Eventually, Sheriff got sick of the miners, decided enough was enough, and shut down the town, forced the miners to move elsewhere. The entire time he'd been talking about Sheriff, his face was lively and lit up. This is not supposed to be accented. His hands moving with his words. It was a lot like how your pastor used to give sermons. Surely there was resistance to a whole mine in town being packed up like that. Of course, but Sheriff did what was right. That's the way Sheriff's soul is set. I felt buried by the weight of the town's hate, their convictions like stone walls I could not scale. I'll be grateful to God until the day I die that Sheriff came here. I was given so much hope when I'd lost it all. And you've been here ever since? Jacob chuckled. Yes, we have. Only a handful of us stayed after the miners left, and it was hard to know whether this town would still stand. But we felt sure we could find more people who cared as long as we worked together. More people like us. His words hung in the air, settling around you and Joseph as Jacob settled his gaze on you both. So, those mines are still around. A lot of mining towns died down because of the gold drying up, but if the miners just left, I guess there's still some here. Well, yes, I suppose so. I can't say I've thought much about it in recent years. We don't encourage those looking for gold. I'm sure you understand it's nothing but trouble. His warm gaze turned somewhat steely. You weren't sure how long it might go on for if Joseph didn't pipe up. Of course, Jacob. We're just a curious bunch. Thank you for talking with us strangers so long. His stern eyes disappeared in an instant, and he humbly waved away Joseph's thanks. No, pleasure's all mine. It's been good talking to New Year's. If you'll excuse me, I must get this place tidied up before today's meeting. Quaker meeting? Quaker meeting? Yes, indeed. You're both welcome to join us if you'd like. Thank you, Jacob, but I think it will be off anyhow. You all stand, stretching and shaking off the stiffness from wings and tails and legs. Go well and keep the light close to you. You both nod and leave through the same rattling door as before, catching one last glance at Jacob before his chores. Starting his chores before you close it. Okay. God words. Joseph stands with you for a moment in the porch of the meeting hall, looking off into the town. What you thinking? Well, we know now that these folks ain't gonna put up much of a fight. Maybe some of them, and there's definitely gold here somewhere. Joseph had no real emotions playing across his face, but he was standing much more still than you had seen him before, like he was trying not to breathe. Come on, we got more people to talk to. He exhaled sharply, the feathers on his beak next to his nose holes fluttering. Yeah. You walked past the houses and people like before, but didn't feel like waving back. Walking back to the edge of town, on the other side from the sign you now knew read Clemency, you both sit on the edge of a little hillside slope, kicking dust up yourselves as you settle on the rocky crevice. I think that's all the useful places of interest here, unless we want to go knocking on folks' doors asking for gold. I think we've disturbed this lot enough for a day. Your resting hand becomes restless as it brushes against some dry desert grass, entwining it between your fingers, slowly pulling it from its roots. So, what did we actually figure out? Everyone here is kind and mostly defenseless. I think pacifist is the word. You tug more grass up into your hand. They can maybe fight off some bandits, but no officers are gonna come help, and they ain't gonna do much against a whole gang. And there's gold here, somewhere, in some forgotten mines no one's seen for decades. Well, it's gotta be around here. This is a mining town, for Pete's sake. How far could it be? You shrug. Sheriff said the town was moved. The mines could be anywhere now. Maybe it's really just rumors. Maybe there's not really anything to find here. I think you know as well as I do that these folks were antsy, friendly as well, but gold gets their hackles up. Someone has to know where the mines are. You knew he was right. You knew how to read people well enough. Joseph stood up, gazing out across the landscape of the town and beyond, searching towards the horizon. Gonna use those special eyes of yours, bird brain? More use than you chasing your tail, mutt. He looked at you for a moment with a smirk, and you smirked back. You rolled the grass in your hand between your fingers, squashing the reeds of it together, dropping seeds in the sand. I can't see nothing. Goddamn sun in my eyes ain't helping me neither. I don't know if Bartholomew would help out. He was maybe the most friendly out of the bunch. Sheriff didn't even talk about the gold. Because the sheriff knows how to keep the town safe. You look up at Joseph, his puzzled face squinting in the sun, looking down at you. Looking back out into the desert, the sun sits between two rocky outcroppings in the distance, a light bulb plucked from the sky by unmoving fingers. It'll start getting dark soon. Sheriff knows where the mines are. Bartholomew said he never saw them, and Jacob was never a miner. He had no reason to go to the mines. What, so he never saw them? That don't make sense. I'm not saying that. I'm saying even if he did see them back then, he wouldn't remember where they were now. Sheriff still knows where they are because they're the biggest danger to the town. I'd wager Sheriff even checks up on them every so often to make sure it's undisturbed. Huh. I guess that checks it out. We don't have time to be for a stakeout, though. You ball your hand into a fist, the grass yielding and turning to dust. We don't need to know where they are anyway. We got all we need. Knowing where the mines are would just be a penny in the hat. We should think about our next move. You ignore the tiny knot in your stomach as you thought about what to do next. You should just leave, but there's nothing else to do here. We should just think about resting. Getting dark soon. I think we could stay at the saloon. Sheriff did offer. You sure you want to stay here for a night? Seems like least we could do before we leave. Unless camping outside has some mighty appeal to you. Joseph flashed a wry smile. Alright, let's go have a look first. No point bringing the horses down if I can't afford the rooms. Standing up, you feel the dust fly between your fingers with the wind blowing east and follow Joseph a few paces behind. I don't know how this is going to turn out and it's stressing me out. You walk toward the saloon again, looking forward to having somewhere to rest. You don't remember the last time you actually stayed in a room somewhere. It was always a tent or just in your bedroll lying beneath the stars. You see Sheriff and Bartholomew standing on the porch of the saloon talking intently, but can't pick up any clear words on the wind. Sheriff notices you both as you approach, patting Bartholomew on the back as he takes his leave back inside. Sheriff leaves the shade of the saloon's overhang, walking with purpose towards you both. The blue of the sky was starting to fade into oranges, pinks on the edges of sparse and tiny clouds overhead. That doesn't make any sense what I just said, but I don't know how I misread that. You both slow to a stop as Sheriff approaches you quickly. The face approaching you was different from before, and you see Joseph's face fall a little. Sheriff came to a stop in front of you both, twisting the cane in the dirt a little. The old and frail figure standing in front of you was shaking a tad. You could hear slow and deliberate breaths from the chest. The usual confidence and bluster off Joseph dissipated under this new glare of Sheriff's. The new and sharp eyes, unlike those you'd seen when you'd arrived. There was a tiredness in them, a fierce tiredness beneath which was a wild look you'd only seen in the eyes of the newly grieving. What's going on? Gripping the cane, scaled knuckles turning white, Sheriff spoke in a low and calm voice. Yeah, I should have known. Thought maybe I was wrong this time. Y'all seem so, I don't know, like you should be here. Even so, I knew there was something off with what you were asking. Is everything all right, Sheriff? We were just going to see if we could stay at the saloon. Sheriff slammed the cane into the dirt with such force he feared it might crack the earth beneath. You know damn well things are not all right. I had a little chat with my friends around town talking about the newcomers, what they'd been asking about. Just passing through town, give me a break. I should have known it was too good to be true. I know when I see the gold fever in them eyes. We're not here to cause trouble, Sheriff. We'll be on our way tomorrow morning. Really now? Well. Sheriff reached a free hand behind and pulled out an old revolver to point at you. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it once. I made a promise to protect this town and the people who live here, that I would do what was right by them. So both of you are going to turn tail and leave right now, and you never come back. And if I ever see either of you heading this way again, I'll shoot you dead before nary fur or feather crosses that town line. You stood still next to Joseph, a small fear of walking taking hold as you feel like the wind might knock you off your feet. Understood, Sheriff. Joseph started walking away, not stopping for you even as you stood there a moment longer just to say one word. Sorry. You knew that didn't make up for it, but it was all you could muster from your tight throat. You turned quickly and walked away after Joseph with your head down, staring at your feet as they rhythmically sped one after another through the dust tracks of a town you couldn't come back to. Aww. Big sad in my feels. The climb back out of the valley was quiet. The wind was the only noise to reach your ears, no words coming to pass between you and Joseph. Only the occasional meeting of the eyes when he looked to make sure you hadn't fallen behind. Those eyes that face you had grown accustomed so quickly to having at least the hint of a smile resting was devoid of much emotion at all. He wasn't thinking about it, you felt, but to not think about it meant to not think at all. And so he didn't, his limbs carrying him up the path, but no one was home. You understood, of course, as much as you'd like to not think about it either. You couldn't ignore the small dread in your chest. Like it was the cavities of your insides seeping around and between your organs, a creeping tar. Not a suffocating tar, just making you feel heavy and dense. If you stopped walking now, you didn't know if you'd start again. The sun was starting to dip into the horizon when you reached your original meeting spot at the top of the hill. Both your horses were lying in the long shadows of the... Do horses lie down? I thought it wasn't safe for horses to lie down, and if they were lying down, they were either giving birth or something was wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. They were lying in the long shadows of some rocky mounds, your own shadows stretching across the sand as you go to tend to them. You both hauled your bedrolls off and started to unpack them, giving the horses some water and sorting through your belongings. Still, without a word, a camp for the night quickly formed between you as you worked. Joseph had brought a thin metal stand with him to hang the cooking pot over, and gently tossed you his book of matches as he erected it. You struck the match in a familiar fashion, placing it in the middle of a dried assortment, blowing gently to encourage the shy flame. Lifting your head back up from the budding fire, Joseph was having little issue getting his stand to, stand. His face was still the same neutral, empty face from before, and you noticed a little catch on a joint that hadn't flipped properly. You brought your hand up to flick it out the way. Either the lurch of the stand falling into place or the momentary touch of your hand against his seemed to jolt Joseph out of his listless state. Thank you. A smile, just a small one, a weary and wary one, had returned to his face. You were glad to see it again. It was enough to make your chest a little lighter, the tar receding just a touch. Oh. With the fire lit, a modest plume of smoke started billowing into the sky and scattering in the fading sunlight. Joseph got up momentarily to rummage in one of his saddlebags, coming back with a tin and some bundled cloth. I've got some beans, some salted pork too. Not sure what you've got with you. Oh, right. Yeah, hold on. He had plenty of water still, and if he was propping up the bulk of the meal, you had some molasses to add to it. You brought them both over and let Joseph sit on his bedroll he had laid out now. Taking the reins wasn't really a two-person job. What? With the beans gently cooking away now in the pot, he sat there lazily stirring it with a spoon. You grabbed your bedroll and laid it out on the opposite side of the fire, squatting and dropping onto it with a thud, tucking your legs towards you, resting your head on your knees, holding them in your arms. The two of you sat like this a short while, watching the pot steaming away, the orange flames licking the underside of the well-used metal. You found yourself thinking about what happened in Clemency without even realizing. The pain you felt in your stomach when Sheriff knew why you were there. The sharp chill that shot from your neck to your tail when the gun was pulled on you. You weren't scared of being shot, that wasn't it. That wasn't what set your palm into a cold sweat. It was something else. Something about having to leave that town. Sorry for letting you do so much of the talking today. I'm more of the quiet type. Sure you figured that out already? He flashed you a weak but genuine smile. Not like I did us much good. It wasn't your fault, Joseph. Sheriff was paranoid, and we were bound to be rumbled eventually. Besides, it doesn't really seem like there is any gold here, unless we feel like setting up a new mining operation. Yup. I'm sure Black Vulture would love to hear that. Wasn't my fault, I'll say. He sighed, a sharp, exasperated exhale through his nose holes, one knee of his crossed legs fidgeting and bouncing as he stirred the pot. You were a little taken aback that he seemed to be mocking what you said. Maybe it just wasn't what he wanted to hear right now. Still, you understood his frustration. What would your bosses think if we told them what this place was like? Would they believe us? Sorry. You were snapped from your thoughts by his apology. A slightly guilty look. Sorry. A slightly guilty look on his face, knowing he must have seen that he hurt your feelings a little. You're right, it's not my fault exactly, but hell, this is a mess, Robin. His fidgeting was spreading, playing across the feathered fingers of his wings, his face, his eyes, his knees again. Like a ragtime tune was playing all across the inside of his body. What's he like, Vulture? He's his breathing was ragged too. You got onto your knees and reached your hand onto his that was stirring the spoon even now, a gentle but firm grasp stopping its motions. Your eyes met over the cooking pot. He looked like he was seeing you again for the first time in a long time. The shaking in his hand came to rest and relax its vice grip on the long spoon as you held each other's gaze. Let go. I'm here. It's all right. He nodded a few times, taking his hand away and resting on his haunches, stretching his legs out. A few moments passed as Joseph regained his calm, laid-back demeanor. One leg still bounced a little, a quick rhythm, tapping a dance hall tune. Ah, you're the little horse! Ah! The sun was almost gone now, the last dregs of its light in the desert, turning everything in the distance a single dusty red. You could see the stars now as you looked to the sky, and the light continued to fade. More and more points of light dotting their way to the east. You turned your eyes away from the sky when you heard the sound of a penknife flicking open. Oh, don't mind me none, just doing a little preening. He started taking the knife gently to his wing, very gently. He seemed to be scraping away older feathers while also opening new pin feathers scattered across the wing, emotions almost like shaving. Forgive me if I'm talking out of line, but why don't you use your beak for that? Ah, well, Mama always told us you don't use your beak for things around anyone other than family or lovers. It ain't polite. He seemed a little sheepish admitting it, like it was an uncommon quirk of his family. You asked about Black Vulture, yeah? Don't you know the stories already? Yeah, but those are just stories. I know what it's like riding with someone with a few tall tails trailing behind them. Joseph snorted a little, still making his way across the wing with his small knife. Yep, that sounds about right. Pretty sure some old, more flattener ones I heard were left behind by the vulture himself. You settle on the side of your legs a little, getting more comfortable as you kept stirring the ever-cooking pot. Where to begin with the man himself, jeez. He's a real piece of work, that one. I could tell you that much for sure. He's a city slicker that considers himself a cowboy, even though he hates getting his boots dirty. Acts all gentleman-like and such, a real flannel mouth. He'd charm the pants off you if you had something he wanted. Then when he's got what he wants, he jabbed the knife towards you pointedly. He'd stick you in the back and twist it hard to hear you cry. You turned the knife back to preening. He's a terrible shot, too. There are some stories that he could shoot the cap off a bottle without spilling any from 50 paces. But he ain't the sharpest shooter. Never. He ain't the sharpest shooter. Never. He's almost as bad as the shot as me. Got someone else for that. Oh my god. See, that's how you run in his posse. You make yourself indispensable. He tapped his knife on the ground, threw the word to make his point. His gang is on the smaller side, but they're plenty loyal. They need be. There can't be anyone else. You're loyal then? On the eyes, I'm useful. I get on good with a lot of them, and Black Vulture keeps me round win-win. You understood what he was saying, what he meant, what he really wanted to say. You understood how it felt to be under that kind of looming shadow. No one for miles around, but don't say anything, just in case. You'd seen what happened to other people. You both had, for sure. Joseph was far from a greenhorn as could be. He swapped hands and started the knife on his other wing now. So, what about Curly Wolf? You said there were plenty of tall tales about him? Spit fair with me. Oh, split. You didn't look at him when he asked you. You kept looking at the pot, peeking over to check the beans. This looks about done to me. Joseph stared at you for a moment when you did meet his eyes, and then closed up his knife, kneeling over you to look with an approving whistle. Yeah, looks it to me. You laughed a little. Aw, look at the little sparkles, little happy sparkles. He laughed a little as his stomach gave a hearty growl, fetching the bowls and holding them while Joseph served you both a big, slopping portion. Night had come now, and you both gathered a little closer around the fire and moved the pot stand to the side. You could see him easier now without that in the way. With the pot lifted, the fire rose, dancing in the wind, sometimes hastening your view, the blur flitting in and out as you glanced eyes while you ate. Believe it or not, but I ain't the cookie back at camp. Someone else got that privilege. He was clearly joking, but the beans were some of the better you'd had. I never would have guessed. I don't cook that often, but I make some mean donuts from time to time. Oh, you do now. I'll have to try them then. I hope so. It was so selfish to ignore his question. Say nothing about Curly Wolf, so rude of you. You weren't raised like this. What? You couldn't, though. Never. Or more like you didn't know what to say. How many years had it been now? Sorry, I should have said something when you asked about my boss. I get it. No, I mean, of course you do, but it's also that when I said I was the quiet type, it's more than that. If I'm shooting straight with you, I don't remember the last time I heard my own voice before today. At the camp, I might say yeah and no, but I don't really talk. And when I'm away on a lookout, there's just no one to talk to. I don't want to talk to myself and just be reminded that I'm alone. I've never talked about him. I wouldn't. Joseph looked straight at you, even into you. It almost felt like. You could see the fire between you and his eyes, flames fluttering across the irises. Heck, why am I yawning so much? The intensity of his look gave way to something like relief. Nah, don't worry about being a quiet one. I think it's part of your charm. There are lots of wannabe tough guys who want to act like you with no sweat. That's strong silent act. Besides, guys back home are always telling me shit. Not that I give them the satisfaction. I can tell you that being quiet doesn't change things. Same horse shit regardless of whether you make a fuss. I have been told shut up so many times for being quiet. Make it make sense. You sighed a long sigh. What words could you even use for a man like him? Curly Wolf is a bad egg. I think sometimes he was born like that. I know he can't have been, but I don't know what godforsaken things happened to him to turn him into what he is. He's probably the meanest, roughest bastard you'll ever have the misfortune of meeting. Anyone you can think of that you wouldn't want to run into, he's worse than that. I don't know about Black Vulture, but the stories Curly Wolf leaves behind, I don't think they even match up to how dangerous he is. I've seen him gun down traitors riding away on horseback 200 paces away. It's easy to get his dander up, and he's the last person you'd ever want to do that to. He'd make sure of that. Not the brightest you'd ever meet, but his instincts are keen. He's never made an empty threat, and he'll happily get his hands dirty to make good on them. Shit. Black Vulture said before he'd be willing to pick a fight with Curly Wolf, but they never met. Now I'm wondering if he has any idea what that will get him into. I say we pit them against each other and make them fight each other. He ain't stupid, but he's definitely too cocky for his own good. Oh, eat your bowl before it gets cold. Nothing worse than cold food. You did as he said, mulling over what you'd talked about while you ate. Joseph had a head start on you, but even so, his eating was voracious, and he finished before you were even halfway through yours. He sat back from his hunch over the bowl, wiping his beak on his arm. He looked around some, into the fire, out into the darkness of the desert, at you. You could tell he didn't want to stare, but his eyes took you in anyway with long glances. He coughed, clearing his throat to stall for the words he was thinking of. Say, Robin, I wanted to ask. He grabbed his knife again, taking it to his wing once more, looking away as he asked a common question. I hope you don't think me cruel for asking, but what happened? Did he do that to you? You were pretty used to questions about it, but you appreciated the genuine warmth behind his words at least. This whole thing, it wasn't pretty. It was a practical joke of sorts, if you'd call it that. What the fuck? By some of the guys during a camp. A practical joke that resulted in not having an arm? What? Took my bandana and shoved it in the mouth of one of the horses. Egged me on like to get it back. Reached my hand in and of course the hoss gets all antsy and bites down, starts thrashing trying to get away. I don't remember much after that. Blacked out from the pain. Next thing I know, I'm being hauled to some doctor. Told me they had to amputate it for it putrefied. Joseph had stopped printing at this point, looking at you with some real watery eyes and a soft expression on his brow of both anger and horror. Yeah, fuck. Got the bandana back, so, win some, lose some. I'm sorry. Nothing to be sorry for. Long time ago. You just live with it. Full and finished, you set aside your bowl, taking another appraisal of your surroundings, looking up to the sky and its carpets of stars. It was quickly starting to get cold, so you got up and went to your horses, fishing some blankets out for them. Looking inside the bag, you couldn't find your usual extra blanket for yourself. Shit. Must have forgotten to take it before you left. You spied your binoculars in there. You took them and walked to the edge of the cliff again. You were about to put them up to your eyes when you realized you didn't need them to see what was happening in Clemency. The whole town was dark except for the bright lights prominently shining from the saloon. You saw the shallow silhouettes of people dancing play out across the street in front, and if you listened very closely, music. Seems like they're having a ripping roaring time. Yeah, I wondered if they would do it tonight like Bartholomew mentioned. Why wouldn't they? What have they got to be worried about? His voice was a little cold, blunt. Ice cubes and a drink bumping your teeth as you sip. Out of all the towns I've been kicked out and run out of, this was the only one I'd want to come back to. This place ain't for us. We're trouble, Robin. We're no good for these folks. Tomorrow we'll be gone. We'll tell our bosses we didn't find anything, and if we're lucky, they'll just go on with their way. Maybe in another life we could have gone back there. It would have been nice. But this is our life, our only one. It is what it is. We move on. That's how we live. You could feel the wind blowing behind you, ruffling your trousers, whistling past your ears as it seemed to push you towards the edge of the cliff. Yeah, I guess it is. The wind kept howling, picking up and dying down, whistling off the valley and kicking up clouds of dust around the buildings down below. Curly Wolf is going to ransack this place, even if they don't have anything. And what do you want me to do about it, huh, Robin? It's not my problem. You feel now the desert night on you. Your fingers, the tips of your ears, starting to feel the tenderness of the cold and the wind. You are shivering. You shouldn't have talked back to him. You knew how that always went. It never ended well. You just made him feel worse, like it was his fault. Why should he have to listen to your stupid concerns? It was your shit to figure out. He owes you nothing. You just met. You don't know each other. If it weren't for convenience, you would have shot each other hours ago. You heard the sound of shuffling behind you as he got up. He started walking toward you. Here it came, as you knew it would. You tensed up as he approaches, closing the distance, expecting the due anger. Closing your eyes when you feel him at your back, ready for the blow that's coming. You flinch when you feel a weight around your shoulders, a squeeze in them, too, that you expect to hurt, but it's so tender it couldn't possibly. I am going to fucking cry. Oh my god. Opening your eyes, you see a thick blanket draped around you, down to your... Opening your eyes, you see a thick blanket draped around you, down to your knees. You looked cold. Don't want to get consumption? Just standing there. You know how cold the desert gets. Yeah, there's nothing to hold the heat in. You drop the binoculars gingerly by its strap to the floor, now clasping the edges of the blanket with your hand tighter around you. You could feel how cold your fingers were just below your chin, almost numb. How long had you been standing here for? I'm dreadfully sorry. You got nothing to be sorry for. You and he sat back down by the fire, Joseph giving it a 1,000-yard stare. Thank you. Nothing to it, get warm. You pull the blanket tighter again, the desert chill still sweeping underneath. Are you not cold? I've been around the fire all night, haven't I? I'm fine. He's lying. You can see his feathers twitch and shiver, but he's trying hard to hide it. You wonder the truth of what he said, too. That we just had to move on. Standing up with the blanket, you walk around the fire, standing over him a moment as he looks up towards you with wide eyes. You sweep the blanket around him and sit down shoulder to shoulder. You're right, he's definitely cold, but a lot warmer than you'd imagined. Yay! I told you I'm fine. Don't give me that blow, tough guy. I know you're not. He looks like he's gonna say something, but just shuts his beak. He suddenly seems a lot warmer. I'm sorry, I didn't mean what I said. I know, that wasn't the fella I've been around all day. I'm just scared. He nods softly as to be almost unnoticeable. Yeah, I'm more scared than I've ever been. Together you huddle, bring the blanket tighter and tighter, moving closer to each other. He smells like the desert, dusty and sweaty. Why is this so warm? Why do you feel like this? Not warm like you're around a fire, but like there's a fire inside you, warm coal shifting around inside, and embers spitting in your throat. Have you ever felt like this before? Joseph, He looks at you. Your faces so close together, you lean your head into his shoulder, staring into the wild dance of the fire. I haven't met someone like me before, or someone like you. You're extremely kind, even to a stranger like me. I wish I could know you more than these few hours. I know I have to ride back in the morning, but of all the hopes I've hoped, the strongest is that I could just stay here. That the sun would never rise. I don't want to go back. You stay clinging to him. After a few moments, he pulls you tighter. I have to say, I feel the same way. I can see in you someone who's faced so many hardships, someone who deserves better, who's worked harder than any of the lumpsuckers back where you've come from. We're a couple of queer fish in a barrel, I'd say. Lord knows how we found each other. The sun will come up again and we'll have to go our separate ways. We don't have another choice. I just wish it wasn't so. I wish. You lift your head to look at him, but he just gives you a look and turns back to the fire. What are you thinking? He sighs wearily, like he's been asked to carry the world on his back. It's a flight of fancy, that's all. It's not realistic. You look at him curiously, catching his eyes. He looks at you almost for approval before he thinks about what he wants to say. I wish we could run away, that's it. The two of us far away from everyone and everything. Right east till we know no one's chasing us. That sounds nice. You both cuddle for a little while longer, sitting close and resting your heads together. The thought of running away tick over in your mind. Oh, the thoughts. Okay. Is that what you want? As if he could read your mind, Joseph asked. What do you want to do? You thought more. No one had ever really asked you that. And even so, you knew what you wanted to say. I'm tired of running, Joseph. I want to fight. I want to kill Curly Wolf. Really? It's the only way I can think to be free of him. You know as well as I do, I don't get to just up and leave. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to be free of Black Vulture too. But do you think that's something you could do? Kill him? I can't do it alone. Our gangs, Joseph, they're gonna destroy this town. And after, if we ran away, we'd never be safe. We'd be looking over our shoulders the rest of our lives. I don't want to run away from things anymore. I want to run towards a better life with you. So fucking gay. Oh my god! Joseph's eyes were sympathetic, but his expression was of discomfort. I think you're right. And I do want to help you, but I'm useless in a fight. I can't shoot straight. I don't want to die, Robin. I wouldn't let that happen. I'll keep you safe. We can keep each other safe. We haven't been living our lives, Joseph, just surviving. Something better than that is worth dying for, I think. Something better than that is worth dying for, I think. Okay, I don't know why I had such a hard time with that, Jesus. A fight feels inevitable. We should face it. You really that desperate to get out? You nod, head held against his shoulder. He sighs the same sigh again, long and heavy, almost theatrical if it weren't for the stakes laid out before you both. I think you're right. A chance like this won't come again. I might even be tempted to call it fate. We should talk to Sheriff again, I think, somehow if we can. He yawns. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we ain't gonna figure it out when we're bone tired. We should get some sleep. Come morning, we'll talk more, figure something out, and then hope on a kiss and a prayer that we make it out alive. He chuckles. Ain't that the story of our lives? This'll be the last time we have to fight like that, I swear it. Whether you die or not. That's for sure. You both fall asleep against each other, dreaming of that promise, praying for a better tomorrow, and willing to fight for it. It's morning! It wasn't the red morning sun, now risen just above the horizon, that woke you. Nor was it the gentle slumbering breath of Joseph against your neck, doing its best to lull you back to sleep. What woke you wasn't even the familiar crick at the base of your tail from sleeping on the bedroll, stiffness you couldn't wait to stretch out. It was your thoughts, all the thoughts in your mind, like so many wild horses running of what may come next. What you both had to do. The nights spent on a lookout were better than the sleepless nights back at camp, but you still dreaded the dawn that came after. At least you had Joseph this time. At least you had him for what was to come, you hoped. You could feel one big wing of his wrapped around your stomach, shifting as he started to wake too now. As much as you wanted to keep lying here with him for just a few more minutes, you knew you had to get up. Coffee wouldn't brew itself. You peeled back the blanket as little as you could to let yourself escape, gingerly untucking Joseph's fingers from your side. Sliding off the bedroll and through the dirt, you let Joseph's arm down gently. Crouching low on your knees, you gave his hand a gentle squeeze, feeling the soft, dry, dusty feathers beneath your fingertips. Holding this moment in your head that it might stay there. You stood up, dusting yourself off everywhere you could. Time to get ready. Even with Joseph here, your morning routine was mostly the same, just doubled, you supposed. Feed and water the horses, both of them. Make a pot of coffee, double the amounts though. Let it brew for a little longer too on the same fire as you used last night together. Why would you let it brew? Why would you let it brew longer? You kept thinking while the coffee boiled. Ew, you shouldn't boil coffee. You burn it. I haven't worked out yet today, so my body's all stiff. You kept thinking while the coffee boiled. There were many things you didn't have time to think about yet. Even so, unimportant thoughts still rose. An unimportant thought that kept bubbling up was how nice it was not to have the usual knot in your stomach. The tightness that twisted every time at camp when you had to get food or a drink to use the same tools in the same spaces as others. It was nice not to have to worry right now, you thought about sharing this. Joseph wouldn't complain about having to get up to get coffee from the same pot as you. He wouldn't get angry that you were handling his stuff. Could it have always been this easy? I have no idea what's happening. My brain did not accept any of that information for the last couple of, what do you call them? Text boxes? Your stomach rumbling snapped you from your thoughts. Of course, you'd forgotten breakfast. You went back to your bag and unwrapped some salted pork, holding it between your teeth and tearing a chunk off. You always liked how chewy it was when you weren't in a rush. The rhythm of your jaw grinding it up helped you think. Possibilities were rolling around in your mind, dice cast along the branches of a tree, how things might play out. Although you couldn't just keep it to yourself now. For better or worse, this was about the two of you. There was both weight and comfort in that thought. As you watched the pot start to bubble and steam, you heard the sound of sleepy shuffling, turning to see a waking Joseph. He was propped up on one elbow, blearily trying to figure out what was in front of him, rubbing his eyes with one winged hand. You saw his pupils contract to the morning sun that was getting brighter and brighter, focusing on you. "Good morning, partner. Is that the sweet smell of coffee?" asked Male Bruin. "Not sure I'd call it sweet." You looked into the pot at the dark brown, tar-like substance, forgetting the large snoutful you got of its acrid, bitter scent. "Well, the idea is sweet, to me at least. Stuff's damn near magic far as I'm concerned." With surprising energy for someone who had just woken up, Joseph whipped the blanket off of him, standing and dusting himself off. You watched still as he stretched. His fingers locked together, wings pushed and pulled in front and behind. The way the feathers of his neck parted and ruffled as he rolled his head around his shoulders. The hem of his shirt, usually tucked in but now loose after a night's sleep, rising ever so slightly as he twisted his body. He sighed as he finished, wings on his hips, and met eyes with you. "What are you looking at?" "Nothing." A shy smirk crept across his face as he tucked his shirt back in and walked over to you. "Robin, you little queer boy. Damn." "What you eating?" "Salted pork. There's some in my bag if you want." "I think I will. Thank you kindly." "Can you get some cups too? This coffee looks about done." You looked behind you at Joseph crouched as he dug into your bag, giving you a quick thumbs up. You turned to the pot again and stirred it with the spoon a little. Joseph came back round and sat beside you, setting 2 tin cups on the ground with one hand. His beak tore at the piece of jerky in his other hand, hungrily swallowing it down after a few chews. He picked up the pot and poured you both a cup, eagerly tapping his cup with yours before drinking. "Cheers!" You both sipped quietly. You could feel the heat of the coffee traveling all the way down your gullet, burning in your belly. "How'd you sleep?" "Good. Like a pup. Didn't wake once." "Me too. Slept better than ever." Slept better than even that hotel I stayed at one time." "I swear the sheets on that bed were the softest darn thing I ever touched." "Sounds nice." "It was. Last night was nicer, mind you." Another silence between you now. "Oh my god, that's so good. That's just so good." Likely you were both thinking the same thing, thinking about last night what you talked about. Silence, because if neither of you spoke, maybe nothing would happen. Maybe the world would stop turning and the sun would stop rising. Of course, it still does. You can see it, charting its course away from one horizon to the next. So, what's our plan? Joseph shuffled a little, legs restless. "We kill Curly Wolf and Black Vulture." "That's what we say, right?" You nodded. "Maybe we don't have to. We could just run away." "We talked about that, Joseph." "Okay, if we run, we'll spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. We'll never really be safe." "Yeah, you're right. Besides, have you never thought about it?" "Of course I have. It's not that simple, though. Everyone around him is loyal. It'd be hard to even get the chance. Even if I killed him, I wouldn't get away with my life. And even when I've thought about the ideal world where he's got a bullet in his brain and I'm home free, there's nothing after, Robin. I could never see what would happen in the rest of my life. It was blank. Just a desert. If you were to kill him now, what do you see?" Joseph looked ahead, thinking. The feathers on his face fluttered in the wind. "Something, I suppose. Not nothing, at least. I think maybe I can trust that. Are we really going to be able to kill them, though? I don't know. They bleed and die like anyone else. It's just hard to get a chance. At some point, our gangs are going to go to Kumwasi and take us with them, whether we like it or not. I think we should try to use that to our advantage. Unfamiliar place, for them at least. What about everyone in town? They shouldn't have to be involved with this." I got so into the story I forgot to accent Joseph. "They're already involved. We can't change that. I just wonder if any of them would help us. I doubt it." "Do you think?" You look at Joseph and he turned to look at you too, his brow furrowed. Sheriff? You felt a cold dread wash over you, even in the heat of the morning sun. No, I don't think Sheriff wants anything to do with us. We'll be dead before we even cross the town line, remember? I know. It just... there was something about it. How Sheriff was when we were told to leave. I don't know if I fully believed it. Sorry, Joseph, I think that's just wistful thinking. Hey, you listen to me now. I ain't making it up. His voice was suddenly stern, or the timidness that had been in his voice now gone. I'm telling you, Sheriff. I don't think Sheriff wanted to tell us to leave. There was something far too sad about it. You saw it too, right? I'm not imagining. You thought back. It had hurt too much to dwell on it, but now you thought about it, you had to agree. It wasn't like other times when you'd been exiled or barred from places. There was anger, but there was also frustration, disappointment. That wasn't normal. You might be right. Even so, I don't think we can go waltzing back into Clemency and expect Sheriff to welcome us with open arms. We still didn't even have a plan. I think we need to talk to Sheriff. Even if we don't have a plan, Sheriff needs to know what's coming. Yeah, you're right. I just don't know how. We need to get to Sheriff without being seen. Ideally, I don't want to risk getting shot, however unlikely. Without being seen. You set your coffee down, getting up and walking to the edge of the cliff. You didn't need binoculars to see the shape of the town from up here. How the land moved and shallowed down towards the buildings. You looked along the cliff in the opposite direction to where you'd gone yesterday. Hey, Joseph. I think if we ride our horses this way, we can maybe get to the town from the back. Sheriff's office is at the back of the town there. If we surrender ourselves, we might get to talk to Sheriff. Joseph got up from where he was and walked over to you, looking along the cliff where you were pointing, sipping his coffee. Yeah, that could work. What, not a fan of the idea? Oh, no, we can't do that. This coffee is just mighty foul. He held the cup over the edge and tipped it upside down, the brown sludge falling into the sand below. Let's get going. I don't have much time for both of us be needing to head back to our gangs. I don't know why I said. Yeah, of course. You took one last look along the cliff face and then started helping Joseph clear up the camp, making haste to get on your horses. Hell yeah. Like, I'm certain we'll just pit the gangs against each other. Add a little hair. And a scratch. How did I get a scratch there? You rode as quickly as you could down the... Oh my god, I still have it. Oh my god. Check for Twitter if you want to know what I'm talking about. I'll post it on Twitter today, which is the 24th of June. You rode as quickly as you could down the cliff face, taking a long route around the back of the town. Climbing off your horses, you tied them out of sight behind a rocky outcropping. You started your cautious walk to the edge of the town together, cautious about being spotted. Sheriff's office was right in front of you, the squat building backing up onto this side of the desert. 2 square windows were cut into this face of the building, holes in the frames where bars once were. As you got closer, you listened out for anything that might tell you where Sheriff was, the rhythmic tapping of wood carried on the wind to you from the front porch. Carefully, you and Joseph sidled up to the building. Sticking close to the side, you shuffled along the stone wall, cold in the shade. At the edge, you slowly peeked your head out, squinting through the morning sun. Sheriff was sitting on the porch outside, looking out into the town, cane tapping idly on the wooden boards. You hadn't been noticed yet. You pulled your head back and nodded to Joseph, him nodding back in turn. You both drew your guns backs to the wall and called out, "Sheriff." You hear the panic shuffling of someone getting out of their chair and the cocking of a gun. Who goes there? It's us, Sheriff, Joseph and Robin. We mean you no harm. As you heard Sheriff's footsteps coming towards you around the corner, you both put your hands up, guns hanging limply by your fingertips. You stepped back from the building and out of the shade as Sheriff came to face you, a gun loosely pointed in your direction. What am I looking at here? Why are you back? Are you surrendering?
Yeah, kinda. Sheriff, we need to talk. For real this time. Oh, yeah? And I'm supposed to believe any collie wobble you say now, am I? No, we know we betrayed your trust. We lied to you about why we're here, but we didn't lie about the danger to the town. We're asking for a chance to explain ourselves. Sheriff's brow was furrowed. You could see that, even under the tough and scaled skin, a few moments of silence passed between you. Sheriff holstered the gun slowly and calmly, the click of it uncocking, letting you breathe freely again. Come into the office, then, if we have things to discuss. You gave each other a look of relief as Sheriff turned to walk back. You put your guns away as well and followed the lizard round. The office was darker inside than yesterday, the morning sun not quite shining in the same way. Sheriff stood with both hands on the cane, face curious and stern, still untrusting. So, boys, what do we need to talk about? You look at Joseph and he met your eyes. They were darting about in the small way they do, even when you're focusing on a point. He gave you a little wink. That was all you needed. Yesterday when we told you about those outlaws heading here, that wasn't a lie. Or I guess it was a white lie. Our gangs know about this place, and they're gonna be coming here, gold or not. So you were scouting our town out. Makes sense? Still, I don't see what's stopping you from lying about this town. You both know we can't do much to defend ourselves from a whole gang. So, frankly, if I'm picking up where you're putting down and you don't want to hurt us, then just lie to them. Tell them we're armed to the teeth. Scare them off. They won't be stupid enough to still try.
I guess we could, but...
But what? Look, I appreciate you trying to come clean and help somehow, but this ain't our business, you see.
It's not one gang, it's two. I'm from the Curly Wolf gang, and I'm from Black Vultures.
You're from two different gangs? Well, I'll be damned. You seem so friendly with each other.
The thing is, Sheriff, we don't want to work for them anymore. Curly Wolf and Black Vulture. We want to kill them. We need each other's help to do that. We can't do it alone, you see. Your heart was beating fast to your chest. Saying it out loud, saying it to Sheriff, changed things. Before you could convince yourself otherwise, you took Joseph's hand in yours, squeezing it tight as you stood next to him.
So fucking gay, oh my god. Could you imagine the display of PDA?
Yeah, besides there's no guarantee we'd be able to convince them not to come here, even if we did lie to them. We need your help too, Sheriff. Sheriff's face remained stern, or maybe concerned, you thought, eyebrows flat across the eyes, thinking. You boys are sure about this? This is what you have to do? Yes. Yeah. Joseph's hand moved, ensuring the grip of his fingers interlocked with yours.
Psh, getting a little old for things like this, but alright. Took a drink. I can't in good conscience endanger the people in this town, but I think I might be able to help.
Sheriff got up and started pacing.
So, your two gangs, they're both gonna come here.
Yeah, I know Curly Wolf will for sure. Black Vulture is bored. I can tell he's itching to do something. Any history between them?
I'm totally into the story, I keep forgetting the accent. Any history between them? Any scuffles?
Would they fight or make a truce if they met? Black Vulture has said before he'd fight Curly Wolf. But I don't know if Curly even knows he exists. Curly Wolf wouldn't work with another gang unless he had to. I don't think he'd give this place up so easily.
Seems to me like them meeting up would be beneficial to your goals, don't you agree?
A fight between them would be chaotic, but maybe that's what we need. Some might even finish them off for us. It would be dangerous for us though, too.
Well now, hold on.
When do the lookouts get caught in this scuffle?
Almost never, unless we start it. If anything, we should be the safest ones of the bunch.
You're right. If you can delay their arrival, I might have a solution for you. Clemency gets supplies monthly. They arrive by train about a day and a half's ride from here. That's where the nearest station is. Since it's a whole town supply and the trip is long, everyone in Clemency goes in wagons together. Easiest and safest for all of us. As luck would have it, that's in 3 days. So the town will be completely empty?
Not a soul, I can guarantee that. We ride early in the morning and ain't back till the next day. You get your gangs here on that day, and you do what you need to do. Best I could come up with on short notice. That could work. Not like we have any other plan, and anything could happen, but it's better than nothing. Things were happening so fast, Sheriff really wanted to help. This was incredible. Was this really happening? Was this something you could do? 3 days, right? They need to both be here in 3 days. Yup. Do you think you can do that? I think we can. Joseph looked at you, both of you holding each other's hand tighter. We have to. Good, good. And thank you for trusting me with this. You took a real gamble coming back here. No, thank you, Sheriff, really and truly. I hope to see you again when this is over. God willing, you make good on that promise. For sure. I think we both need to get going now. We'll be expected back today. Yeah, we need to start writing soon. Godspeed then, both of you. Keep yourselves safe. You felt sick to your stomach and light on your feet. You nodded at Sheriff and left, still holding Joseph's hand. Back with their horses, you made last-minute checks on your bags, ensuring everything was secure for the long trip back. 3 days from now, you'd be back, both of you. Some part of you dreaded needing to start this journey, lingering on the feeling of standing here, not moving. So much had changed since you got here. Now you might be risking it all. Doesn't feel fair, the idea of losing something you only just got the chance for. You shoved it down though. The ride back was long. You didn't need that kind of worry gnawing at your heart. Pity for you that every time you saw his face, even a glance as you checked your saddle, it all came rising to the top once more. Like a drowning man, pushed under the waves, breaching the surface again as he refuses to sink. I think I'm all ready. Me too. Joseph stood by your side now, waiting for you to turn and look at him. You contemplated just getting in the saddle, not lingering for longer than you had to. You felt the light touch of his hand on your shoulder. Twisting, pressing your face now over his shoulder, arms clinging around his side. You were holding him before you could think. Aww. Wait, did you say arms? Wait. Is there a way to, history? Oh? Yeah, arms clinging around his side. Well. Joseph said nothing. He did nothing too for a moment until you felt the weight of his arms on your back tightly clinging to you. Your hand took a great fistful of his clothes between your fingers where they lay, and as you held him tighter, he squeezed you even more. Aww. You wouldn't care right now if he squeezed you hard enough to break a rib. Feathers on his neck tickled your face and poked your closed eye. You could feel the way his back bent as he leaned ever so slightly over you. You don't know how long the hug lasted, but eventually you let go. You can feel imprints on your skin from where the hardness of his clothes, his buttons, his belt had dug into you. Still, you didn't mind. He held you still, facing each other, holding each other's arms, looking at each other. Joseph's eyes flicked around your face and to the top of your head, holding his gaze there for a moment before leaning in. You felt the gentle prod of his beak on your scalp, the sharp edges tugging at your fur. He preened through a few more times, pulling gently and spitting loose hairs to the side. Done, he pulled back, his face a little sheepish. There, that's better. Need to look your best when you go back. Thought your mama said it was impolite to use your beak, Well, she's not here. Sides, I think you fit the criteria. Oh my God! Thank you. Your cheeks were hot and flushed with what felt like all the blood in your body. You were sure you could see the same under his feathers. I'll see you in 3 days, you hear? Yeah. We'll kill those bastards. Yeah. You nodded, his hands trailing your arms as he walked away to his horse. You got up in your saddle too, the reins familiar in your hand. Joseph trotted his horse round up alongside you, facing the opposite way. Well, partner, time to go. Wait, Joseph, just promise me if something goes wrong, you'll run. Promise? Killing them isn't worth it if you die too. If you run, I run. They ain't worth the effort of dying. You smiled at him with the same type of smile as when you left home, weak and worn, but relieved all the same. Goodbye, Robin. See you soon, Joseph. You both started your horses moving, gently trotting until you were no longer beside each other. You heard Joseph give a kyaa, and his horse set off at speed, kicking up dust into the air when you looked behind you. You set your own horse into a gallop, the rush of the wind in your ears as you rode through and out of Clemency. Back to your gang. Back to the man you're plotting to kill. The midday sun harsh and bright in the sky as you made it back to camp. A horse! Do you see the little horse over there in the corner? I love him. The midday sun harsh and bright in the sky as you made it back to camp. You and your horse both tired from the ride. The current hideout of Curly Wolf & Co. was a ramshackle affair, nestled in the depths of rolling hills, hidden from the sight of any passerby. Riding slowly in, you climbed off your horse, onto the sun-baked ground, and led it over to tie it up with the others. The smell of food wafted, but you could see people cleaning up already. You'd missed lunch. As you made to leave the horse, a sudden thought struck you, and you doubled back to scramble about in your bag. Where was it? You hadn't left it behind, surely. The trickle of panic that had started to leak into your chest thankfully stopped as your fingers felt the soft brush of what you were looking for. It's the fucking feather, isn't it? You pulled the feather Joseph gave you out of your bag, holding it closely to yourself. You let out a short gasp of a sigh. Boy, tomboy! Your ears pricked up and you stood up straight at the sound of Curly Wolf shouting at you. You hastily tucked the feather away in your pocket. The amount of detail that the artist put into these characters with just 3 colors is so fascinating. You turned and made your way over to Curly, eyes down at the ground, avoiding the looks of the others. You know how things work round here, don't you, tomboy? Yes. Curly grabbed a handful of your poncho, pulling you forward, stumbling before roughly shoving you off your feet onto your back. You'd learned how to take a fall by now. You didn't scramble, you just let yourself lay in the dirt for a moment, waiting. Get up! You pressed your hand to the ground and got up, not too fast and not too slow. The others still got a laugh out of this routine, but you were too bored of it to be embarrassed anymore. If you know how things work, then I shouldn't have to punish you for not doing what you're told. When you come back, you come straight to me with what you found. You don't stand around playing with your little horsey. Yes, boss. Right, come on then, spit it out. I found the town, place called Clemency. It's got some gold from mines, but no bank or anything like that. What would you say now? If Curly knew Sheriff was the only person there who even resembles a lawman, he'd just go barging right in. This lie was crucial, he couldn't catch you out. The place looked armed to the teeth, even so. All the townsfolk had some sort of way defending themselves. No gun laws like other places. Well, shit. I was hoping it'd be a breeze, but we need an easy one right now. I found out from the sheriff that the place is going to be empty soon. You were focused on a hill in the distance, not daring to look directly at him. Still, on the edge of your vision, you could see Curly's eyes narrowed, staring at your face, studying it. How come? Overheard that they retrieve supplies for the town every so often, and the next caravan drive is in 3 days. Whole town is going to be going, it'll be empty and unguarded. The suspicion in Curly's eyes melted into a smugness, and a grin slit his face from ear to ear. Hot damn, now that's an easy win. He turned his face away from you, shouting into the air of the camp. Boys, 3 days from now we're gonna be rich. He walked away around the camp, kept talking, hyping it up, riling everyone for what was to come. You didn't need to listen anymore. Your job was done for now. You went back to being invisible, staying out of the way, the usual. That night, the hills were full of the sound of howling, cheering, drunken songs as the Curly Wolf gang prematurely celebrated their victory. This was a bigger deal than you had maybe anticipated. In any case, your goal was the same, and they didn't know what was coming. Curly Wolf didn't know what was coming. He was the cockiest you'd ever seen him. The days after were a blur. If you weren't needed to help with some menial work somewhere in camp, you were just sleeping in your tent, trying to avoid the blazing heat, keeping out of everyone's way like you always did. Waiting, just like everyone else, for the day you'd ride out. Fair. I want to see Sheriff and all them again. I want them to live happily ever after. On the night before you were due to leave, you snuck out of your tent, out to where no one would see you. Away from the camp, the sounds of it echoing lightly through the air, you clambered halfway down a hill and sat. You didn't do this often. Who knew when someone might come by your tent, needing you to drag you away for something? You couldn't risk it often, being unfindable. But you thought it important enough to do tonight. You come out here and breathe in the cool night air to stare into the sky across the horizon, at the blanket of stars in the sky, trying to pinpoint constellations you were told about when you were much younger. You wonder if Joseph knew any. You didn't think about it at the time. The feather was in your pocket still, the safest place you could think to keep it. At night, when the lights were out, and the tent was filled with the sound of someone snoring, you'd hold it in your hand, flicking through it with the claw of your thumb, feeling the smoothness against your fingers, just for a bit before you put it back. It helped you get to sleep. Again now, while you were alone and sitting under the stars, you pulled it out of your pocket, fiddling with it in your hand, feeling it tickle the pads of your palm. Your mind wanted to wander, to think about important things, to think about all the ways tomorrow could go wrong, to think about what might happen to you both. You didn't let it. The feather helped too. For once, you just let yourself be calm. You'll see him tomorrow. Until then, worrying would do you no good. You'd imagine that was the kind of thing he'd say to you if you were here, sitting next to you. The imagined weight of his head on your shoulder, the thought of his warmth sidled up next to you. All the things you wouldn't feel again if you lost him. You'll see him tomorrow. Here we go. Here we go! It's the morning. You're awake early. You didn't sleep much anyway, as much as you tried to. The sun was as bright as always, coming through the yellowed fabric of the tent. You laid awake, waiting for others to get up, waiting for Curly Wolf. He'd start rallying guys together for the ride to Clemency soon enough. You needed to make sure you were there. The minutes ticked by, and you heard more people get up, the camp coming to life once more with the sound of work and talk. You got up and got yourself ready, sitting on your bedroll after and waiting more. Then the voice of Curly Wolf. "All right, boys, gather round. We're heading to town of Clemency this morning. We need 10 or so men with me to haul valuables. It's around half a day's ride from here. Who's coming to get our gold?" You heard all this as you were leaving your tent, making your way to the small crowd of canines. Oh, look at them, they're kind of cute. Instantly, there are people joining, eager to prove themselves to get their hands on real gold. 1, 2, 3 already. You steadily push your way through the crowd, trying to reach the front. Pushed out the edge of the crowd by the huddling bodies, you found yourself standing in front of Curly. He stared at you, even as he clapped the hands and shoulders of other guys walking past, joining the excitable group. "What you standing there for, tomboy? We don't need any little pups to help shift the goods." You needed to be on this crew. You couldn't talk back to him, though. You didn't know what to say. What could you say? You just kept standing there. "You think you're going to be of any help with this scrawny stick?" He grabbed your arm, raising it up and down, shaking it by the wrist. Every inch of you was screaming to snatch your arm from his hand, but you knew what would happen if you did. He threw your arm back at you, making you stumble a little. "Go make yourself useful someplace else. I only need real men for this trip." You had to say something. You had to be there. You'll need a lookout. He was looking at the assembled group, doing a quick head count. "All right, boys, That's 10. Be ready to move out in 5 minutes. He didn't seem to hear you. Your words were quiet, whispered. You tried again. You'll need a lookout, Curly. His ears twitched. He still didn't turn to face you. I heard you the first time. Stop yapping at me about bullshit. We don't know when the townsfolk will be back. It'll be bad if they come back while you're there, and even worse if there's no one keeping an eye out. Y'all will have your hands full already. You heard him sigh, and a little growl rose in his throat before it subsided into nothing. Fine then, tomboy. If you're that eager to come, I suppose I'll have to let you. You're riding in the wagon. You don't need a horse. No, you didn't get that privilege when other people needed them, you supposed. The wagon was fine by you. You knew it was a punishment of kinds, that you'd be riding in it on the way back along with everything else. Boxes and sacks and supplies and whatnot all bumping about, hoping none of them fall over and hit you. Camp space with nowhere to sit or lie, just standing for hours waiting for it to stop. Get a move on. You followed after Curly to get ready. Of course, what Curly didn't know was that you weren't gonna be coming back here. Neither of you were. Oof. From where you sat slumped. Ooh. Sorry. This is a long playthrough. I didn't expect it to be this long, gotta be honest. From where you sat slumped in the corner of the wagon, the wind whistled through the gaps in the canvas next to your head. The edges flapped, the wind ruffling your clothes and your fur, drying up your nose as you sit with your knees up. The wagon rocks and bumps as it's dragged by horse through the desert, and this corner is the only place you feel safe enough to stay. You could at least keep yourself steady even as it tried to knock you about, clinging onto the wooden frame. Looking toward the entrance of the wagon, where the covering split down the middle, you couldn't see much. Or rather, what you could see were great clouds of dust billowing out from the wheels and into the dry air. As uncomfortable as the wagon was, at least it provided you shelter from the sun, unlike riding on horseback. The winds coursing past your ears were welcome too, cooling your head that was swimming with thoughts. You knew you were close to clemency now. The entourage had been traveling long enough. As you got closer and closer, the minutes stretched on, and you felt sick to your stomach. Less so butterflies, more hornets. I looked at the word like, and for some reason gaslit myself into believing it wasn't there, and so it didn't say like. I don't know. Aww. Griffin's sleeping on top of the dresser up there. Very happily. I cannot show you him. Not easily. This was gonna be it. This is what you'd been waiting for. Not just for days, but years, really. A chance like this. All the anxieties and concerns you'd pushed down last night were rushing back up, like geysers. What if Joseph wasn't there? What if his gang wasn't there? What if you reached clemency and Curly realizes you were lying? What if you couldn't kill them both, or they demolished the town, and Sheriff came back to find nothing left? To find you'd broken your promise? What if you were killed quickly or slowly? You'd seen Curly kill traitors before. The simple fear of dying took hold of your heart. The chill of the Reaper's shadow. No, this wasn't going to be it. This isn't all there was going to be. You'd see him again soon. You'd do what you had to together. This wasn't going to be it. There would be more after. It was hard for you to imagine, but you knew it'd be true. There would be days after today you'd wanted to see them. And if you die, at least it was for a reason. You sure as hell weren't going to go out without a fight. This was a risk you'd always be willing to take. You and Joseph would take it together, and you were going to see it through. You steeled your resolve, locking the furnace of your heart so that no one may put it out. The rumble of the wagon started to slow. The rocking back and forth became gentler and gentler until everything came to a stop with a small lurch. The constant motion that had been in your body was gone all of a sudden. Everything seemed impossibly still. Like when the many conversations in a bar all died down suddenly, leaving it quiet in a strange moment. You heard the thud of Curly jumping off his horse and crawled the floor of the wagon to the front. You heard the thud of Curly jumping off his horse and crawled the floor of the wagon to the front. On the floor? Curly came and opened the low wooden door, letting you slide out of the wagon and jump out. The light of the late morning sun was blinding, and you held your arm over your brow to shelter your eyes. As your eyes adjusted, the bright desert became clearer. Hazy rock formations in the distance became familiar. Walking around the wagon, you saw the shapes of the buildings that set your teeth on edge. The town of Clemency. Here we are, boys. What a shithole. No one here, at least. We'll take what we're here for and leave sharpish. We won't know what hit him. Ain't that right, Tomboy? He slapped you hard on the back. There was an anticipation in the air amongst yourselves. This was the place they'd been waiting for. You'd been waiting for it too, but the anticipation was not one of eagerness. Even in your brief visit here, many things had happened. In some way, being back in Clemency was comforting. Despite that, you couldn't ignore the chill in your veins at the prospect of what will come next. There's no backing out now. You've got this, baby boy! Wrist is stiff. My fingers have been, really stiff since last night. I don't know what it is. If it's, the weather or what. But, normally they crack so easily, but now they're just, being difficult. And it doesn't have the same relief that cracking them usually gives my hands. I don't know if that makes any sense. Despite that, you couldn't ignore the chill. Right. It felt like those few times in the past when the fuse on a stick of dynamite had been lit and you were still holding it. There was only going to be a few moments more until the spark reached the end of the wick. Curly started walking into the town, and you followed suit with everyone else, staying close behind him. Excuse me, I burped. Clemency was dead quiet, not a soul in sight, just like Sheriff said it'd be. He studied the town as you walked down the main street, peering through windows, drawing up plans in his head. Every building you walked past filled you with a little more fear. You were still waiting for something to happen. For anyone else to appear soon enough, Curly would want to get started for real and ask you where the gold was supposed to be. Then at the end of the street, you saw what you were waiting for, who you were waiting for. A hazy, clumped group of guys making their way up onto the main street from the other side of the town. As they got closer, it became clearer. The figure of a tall and slender bird, with many others in tow straggling behind him, much like you behind Curly. Curly stopped as he spotted the group too, staring them down. Ruh-roh. Why are we still here? Aren't we supposed to be looking out? Now who the hell is that in my town? He started walking again with purpose and menace, and he quickened their pace and turned towards you. You felt your heart beating in your chest now, reaching up your throat, blood rushing. Adrenaline started to build in you. They were really here, and you could see Curly wasn't happy about it. Both sides slowed as they came closer to each other, coming to a stop, halfway down the street, a few dozen paces between them. I'm so excited to find out what happens. You can tell I'm reading so fast. I'm so into it. Not too close, not too far. You saw a black vulture much more clearly now, and he was looking with intrigue at Curly. You looked past him, though desperately searching the small crowd of people following in his wake until you saw the one you'd been waiting for. Joseph, stony-faced and stern, blending in with his companions. It might have said compatriots. It was almost funny to compare to the laid-back and jovial man you'd gotten to know. After a few moments longer of staring each other down, Black Vulture spoke. Well, well, is that who I think it is? The infamous Curly Wolf. What's it to you? And what are you doing in my town? Well, I imagine we're both here for much the same reason. I've heard tales of your exploits. Can't say the same. Who are you? I'm Black Vulture, gentleman outlaw of the... Doesn't ring a bell. The feathers of Black's neck clearly ruffled at Curly's rebuttal, but he waved it off. More fool you, I say. More fool you, I say? You're here for the gold, then? Yes, and how strange we might run into each other like this. I'm willing to bet you're not a sharing man. Like I said, this is Curly Wolf property now, so you best go on and fly away. No, I don't think I will be. Curly, I think it would be a shame for so much gold to be wasted on scum like you. Should keep that highfalutin beak of yours shut, unless you want the barrel of a gun inside it. Let us see then, Curly Wolf. To the victor go the spoils, and I intend to spill that tiny brain of yours across the dirt. Fine by me, don't need much brain to shoot you. This wasn't how you'd want things to go. This wasn't how you'd wanted things to go. You and Joseph were still in the thick of it, facing each other. You thought you'd be out of the fight. The air was still. Hands came to hover over guns. Every pair of eyes trained on the opposing side, waiting. In a standoff like this, it was a test of the boss's mettle, their mental fortitude. How long would anyone last before pulling the trigger? Trying to psych each other out. Being the first to take the shot wasn't always the best call, but having to react to that first shot could be worse. I see, so they're playing chicken. It was a test of loyalty, too. For everyone following them, your underlings couldn't step out of line or take the shot themselves. To break rank early would be a betrayal, but when bullets went flying, it was unpredictable. Staying meant a risk to yourself. You knew Curly was a good shot. He had the upper hand here, but you were reminded of something Joseph told you. Black Vulture wasn't the shootist. He had someone else for that. He could brag, but he wasn't the real one. You thought about whether Curly should know. I don't want to mess this up. Can I save? Can I save, please? I'm afraid. I'm very afraid. Okay. I would tip him off. No. Keep quiet. Ugh, this is so hard. If I tip him off, isn't he gonna be like, well, how would you know? But if I keep quiet, is that gonna result in Curly getting... I'm gonna keep quiet. It was better if Curly didn't know about the shootist. As dangerous as it was to leave someone like that hanging around during a fight, it was more danger to him. The seconds dragged on. It felt as though your very breath may tip the scales, chest heavy from breathing the air of people who wanted to kill you. There was safety in numbers, in the crowd, even though you found yourself for the first time thinking about running. Never before had you considered it. This time was different, of course. There wasn't going to be a next time. Running would tip the scales for sure, but you couldn't know in whose favor. Playing it safe with the gang, or run and let all hell break loose. If you run... If we run, then... Come here, is being yowie. If we run, then Joseph runs. Run. You had to run. Staying wasn't worth the risk of getting shot. Not here, not this time. Across the impossibly long feeling gap between Curly Wolf and Black Vulture's gangs, you looked closely at Joseph, catching his attention. You nodded once at him, and he nodded back, understanding. If one ran, you both ran together. To your right side, you spied a gap, an alley between two buildings near you. Heartbeat pounding like a drum in your chest, you set your feet steady in the dirt. You ran out from behind Curly as fast as you could, letting the momentum of your legs pounding the ground carry you. You were down the alleyway and out of Black Vulture's sight before almost anyone could react. Looking back, you saw Curly's expression vacillate. You saw Curly's expression vacillate between a moment of surprised anger and a snarl before landing on gritted teeth. Curly tried with a quick and practiced motion to reach for his gun, but it was too late. A shot rang out, and a sharp whiz in the air was cut short by a wet thud, and Curly flinching hard. That was all you saw before you took off, as did everyone else in the town, it seemed. You heard the scuffle of many shoes. Curly was the most dangerous person here right now, even when hurt, so you were glad to be making distance from him. As you ran through the houses that lined the main street, many gunshots started to fill the air, loud cracks that echoed down the alleyways. You kept running through the maze of houses as far away as you could get, slowing down as you reached the last of them. These houses led to a hill that sloped into the rest of town. You stopped in the shade and leaned against one of their wooden walls, panting. The fight continued and you listened. It didn't seem to be moving away from the street much. You'd be safe elsewhere in town. You needed to find Joseph now. That was all you focused on. You'd be safer together. He ran when you did as well. You slid your gun from its holster, the grip of the metal a small comfort in your hand. If you followed the curve of this ledge along, you'd reach the other end of the street, where Black and Co. were. Joseph couldn't have gone far. You started walking, carefully listening and looking at each alley before crossing, steadily making your way past the houses. It wasn't long before you heard someone near you, shouting, familiar. You heard the scuffle of feet in the dust before two figures burst out from behind a house, one chasing the other. It was Black and Joseph. Black hot on his heels, and you saw him grab the back of Joseph's shirt as he tried to run away. He kept running and crashed into Joseph, sending them both tumbling down the rocky incline, kicking up clouds of dust as they did. You ran over to the edge of where they fell, watching for a moment as they tried to get a hold of each other in the dirt. Clothes stained with brown patches of desert dust, their guns tossed and laying discarded near them. Joseph grabbed at Black, punching his side. You hastily holstered your gun and slid down the hill towards them, stumbling as you hit the bottom. You carried the momentum of your stumble into a run, then swung your leg towards Black, foot connecting hard with something. I didn't see. I'm sorry. He let out a grunt and a retch, probably with his stomach then, clutching his stomach, giving Joseph the chance to throw him off. Joseph rolled away to his arms and knees, standing up quickly. Black tried to get up too despite being winded, but Joseph easily kicked him down onto his back with one foot to the chest. Sleepy little griff boy. Joseph shuffled over to you, and you both stood over Black, who slowly propped himself up on his hands, leaning back and looking at you. He eyed you over, catching his breath back, trying to mask the fear in his eyes with a smug smile that spread across his face. Well, well now, who's your little friend, Joseph? I'm Robin. I'm another lookout. So you're in league with this treacherous scumbag then. What a twist. You're very much going to regret this, Joseph, when this is all over. Punishing people is so distasteful, but sometimes it must be done. Sorry, Black, but ain't gonna get the chance. This is the end of the line. Black's smile softened a little at Joseph's words, either not having listened or simply not believing him. Joseph, don't be foolish. Help me, and I won't punish you too harshly. Then we can forget all this nasty business. Your friend can even join us if you'd like. Let's go take care of Curly, and then we can search for that gold. You saw Joseph waver for a moment, the offer ticking over in his mind, his breath hitched for a moment, stealing the resolve of his promises. There's not even any gold, so you would die anyway. You really don't listen, do ya? I'm gonna kill you, Black, for everything you've done. Black scoffed, brow nodding in anger and indignation. For everything I've done, you ungrateful little whelp. I'll tell you what I've done. I've been a gentleman and shown you nothing but kindness ever since you joined me. I fed you, mentored you, brought you under my wing, and this is how you repay me? By threatening to kill me. I can't tell if you're lying to my face or really just that delusional. You don't care about me. You don't care about any of us. You just like having a posse that'll talk you up in saloons and do all the work for you. A city slicker playing cowboy for the sheer hell of it. Maybe you can fool other folk, but none of us ever bought all this gentleman shit for a second. Black's face was pure contempt, the face of someone used to always being told what he wanted to hear. You unholstered your gun, handing it to Joseph on top of your palm. He took it, holding it by his side and cocking the hammer. How absolutely dare you! You have no idea what I sacrificed. I gave up my life in the lap of luxury to rough it out in the desert with people like you. Sorry. To live the life I was told stories about. I made a name for myself, Black Vulture, the gentleman outlaw of the West. You're not a gentleman. You didn't do anything. Your gang made your name for you. Joseph made your name for you. He's more of a gentleman than you'll ever be. Black's brow furrowed and his eyes squinted at you, filled with the rage of a man who was never told no. The wind died down for a moment. Everything was impossibly still. Not a movement, not a sound, the whole world seeming to take pause, waiting. The stillness was broken as Black's body twitched and he threw himself towards his gun, scrambling in the dust to try and grab it. It scared me. Joseph shot at him, missing, then shot again as Black just touched his gun, the bullet passing through his head with a spray of blood. Could you imagine if he missed and then they both ended up totally dead. Black's frantic body fell limp, settling. A few moments passed, the sand under his head becoming a stained dark brown. Joseph turned to you. He was trembling, his hands fluttering. He grabbed the gun by the barrel and gave it back to you. You took it and holstered it again quickly, stepping closer to put your arm around him. Oh. He was warm, and he put his arms around you too. You felt every shake and tremble of his head on your shoulder, arm tight across his back. You're all right. You're all right. Are you hurt? No. I'm just fine. A few bumps and bruises is all. He pulled back, gently grabbing you by the shoulders, eyes meeting. You know, I'm really sad that the cute little barrel cactus gets covered up by the text. I love that little guy. He pulled back, gently grabbing you by the shoulders, eyes meeting. Are you all right? What happened? Where's Curly Wolf? Yeah, I'm not hurt. I don't know where he is. I ran before he could follow me. I think he got hit. Would say the same. He got shot by Black's shooters. They both tailed me after I ran too. I put the shooters down with my shotgun, but then Black was right on my behind. That was just before you found me. Right. I think we should get to the saloon. Safest place in town I can think of. We can keep a lookout for Curly. Sounds like the fight's died down too. You think we could sneak across the street? You nodded. Joseph picked his shotgun up and you both climbed back up the short hill, cautiously approaching the street. You both sidled up against the wall before an alley, staying out of sight, looking and waiting to make sure it was clear. You saw and heard no one, not from the street, and if you cut through here, you could get to the saloon quickly. Joseph thought it a safe bet too, and nodded at you to go. You left the cover of the buildings, walking close to each other. As you rounded the corner, you walked past the thin side door of a house. You take no note of it, or of it being slightly ajar, not until you hear the creak of its hinges as it opens more. Not until you feel a hot, piercing pain in your side, and the vice-like grip of a clawed hand on your shoulder pulling you into the knife. Ouchie, that is an aggressive knife. Rip. You cried out at the sharp metal invading your flesh, flailing to try and grab onto Joseph, who snapped around to look your way. Enveloped in the shadow of the dark house against the midday sun, Curly Wolf crouched in the doorway, dragging you down. Without a second thought, Joseph bounded towards you both, leaping past you to bodily tackle Curly. You felt the relief and the shearing emptiness of the knife slicing its way out of your body, the flesh below your ribcage staining your shirt. You fell to the ground, any twist of your body pulling at the new injury with new pains. Joseph had pushed Curly to the ground and was rightly wary of the knife, but his hesitation gave Curly too much of an opening. Attacking without thought, like the hurt animal he was, he swung the knife at Joseph, and Joseph recoiled out of the door with a cry. Oh no! He clutched at his eye as he fell next to you, and sat straight up, taking deep, tearful breaths, backing up further. You were on your hands and knees and stood up, more hands scrabbling against the nearest wall to help you get to your feet. Jesus. You reached for Joseph's hand, and he eagerly grabbed you by the wrist, both tightly holding on as he got up and started running with you. Traitor! You can keep running, but I'll kill you. There's nowhere to hide in this town. You hunched over slightly as you ran, trying not to put any stress on the cut in your side. It didn't seem to be too deep, but hurt like hell. You should have just shot him before running off. You ran through the many houses until you reached the main street, pelting forward to the saloon, not stopping for anything. The street was quiet. Jesus. Jesus. I'm so tired. Well, I'm not really tired. I'm more just like cozy, I guess. The street was quiet. Glancing down it, you saw the shapes of people tucked in the doorways and behind buildings and fence posts, still waiting for someone else to make a move. As you ran to the saloon with Joseph in tow, both of you breathing ragged and your feet stumbling, you tried not to make too much noise. Leaping up the short stairs of the porch, you charged into the doors, barreling through it in the dim interior. You turned round and slammed the door shut, giving yourself a moment to breathe with your head down and hand flat against the wood. You're bleeding. You turned to Joseph, getting closer to him. His stony expression was fixated on your side, where blood continued to soak through. So are you. You reached up to his hand on his face and took it away slowly, his arm resisting for a moment before he relented, letting you look. The feathers of his right eye were stained and matted with blood. Blood seeped from a red slit that traced from his cheek up past his eyebrow. His eye was closed, and before you could check it further, he clasped your hand in both of his. I'm alright, Robin. Don't worry about it now. We've got a fight on our hands still. Ah, jeez, I totally forgot about his accent. He gave his best confident smile and a wink with his good eye. The reassurance somewhat lessened by the red stain down half his face. Alright, yeah, you're right. You should go hide somewhere. He's gonna come looking for us. Oh, that's right. Joseph is a bad shot. I just remembered that. That's why he was missing when he was trying to shoot the vulture. A black vulture or whatever. Joseph gave your hand one last tight squeeze before looking around and crouching over to the bar, hiding at the end, out of sight. You crouched down too, walking low, down to the window, peeking over it to see what was happening outside. As if on cue, Curly stumbled out of the alley he had just come from, wildly searching with his head swinging back and forth. A growling bellow broke the silence of the street as he shouted into the air. Come on, boys, we've got a traitor on our midst. Start searching. It was hard to see from where you were, but a few of your fellow gang members crawled out from the woodwork. The Black Vulture gang had seemingly been taken care of already, save for Joseph and one other bird who sprang out from a doorway. You saw him start running down the street towards the entrance of the town, his only panic thought being to try and get out with his life. Curly pulled his revolver and aimed a single shot that whizzed down the street and felled the running bird. He hit the dirt like a sandbag and lay there unmoving. Although he didn't see you, Curly turned to the saloon afterwards, and your eyes saw his. You jerked back from the window, head against the wall, and covered your mouth to stop the yelp you'd been about to let out. Perhaps it was just the stress, the sheer animosity of the situation, but you could swear those eyes made you feel like you were already half dead. Jesus. You heard Curly making a hacking cough before calling out again. Spread out and search around. They can't have gone far. It's a tomboy and some other bird. You peek over the windowsill again. The small group of canines left to listen to Curly dispersed, walking with their guns drawn. A couple started heading your way, toward the saloon. This was bad. This was really, really bad. They couldn't fight you here, not now. Your eyes searched around the saloon for another way out. Before they could reach the porch, however, shots rang out in the street once again. You couldn't tell where they were coming from, and seemingly neither could the others. There was a panic as people took cover. After a few moments, you saw some fire shots back, shooting at the rooftop somewhere. Some stragglers from Black's lot must have gotten on top of the saloon at some point, and were now raining fire upon the street. Oh boy. Curly had taken cover too. He wasn't stupid enough to stand out in the open still, but as he looked around, your eyes caught upon his. This time, the eyes caught yours too. You saw the flicker of recognition at what must be beady eyes poking from the darkness of the saloon. Without hesitation, he leveled the gun up towards the window and shot. The loud crack of the wooden wall made you recoil to the floor. He had missed, but now he knew where you were hiding. There was no need to look out the window again to know he was coming, undoubtedly striding across the street towards this place. You didn't have the time to waste either to make sure scurrying in a crouch past the door with the bared flesh of your side screaming. Oh, okay. Barred? You hopped on the first couple of steps of stairs to the upper floor and crouched by the door, waiting. Gun drawn and mouth dry, your mind was ticking 1,000,000 times a second like an anxious metronome, waiting the short moments so long. You heard him now, the cadence of footsteps you knew well, ones that kept you wary and ready and still. The thumping of wood stopped at the door. Slowly, the door on your side started to open, sunlight pouring into the saloon, and the gunshots cracking the air outside so slightly cleared. What? Outside so slightly cleared? What? You didn't dare move, feet planted on the stairs, your arm held close to you and your gun pointed just past the door. As you listened and watched, focused on the door and the figure behind it, you didn't expect the loud shot that came from behind it. The bullet lodged itself in the floorboards at the other side of the room, but the noise was what broke your focus. You couldn't react in time to Curly's hand sharply reaching around the door to grab your gun, roughly yanking it from your hand. You didn't hold on to it for fear of breaking a finger, and Curly stepped out from behind the door with your gun held by the barrel. His own gun was pointed your way, arm outstretched, and the revolver was so close you could see the pitch black of the inside of the barrel. He chucked your gun away into the room, eyes still trained on you. It clattered against the floor and slid out of sight. Your heart now felt like it was trying to beat out of you and disappeared into the desert like your chest would burst. The rhythm of it pumping was loud in your ears, relentless inside of you, as you'd been sprinting for hours. Oh my god, I'm gonna lose my mind. This is going on for so long. I'm so anxious. I know it's gonna be fine because plot armor, but also I want it to be proven fine, you know? Curly took a step towards you, and you tried to take a step back of your own, only to fall over onto the stairs, your back colliding with the edges. You took another step, and another gun still pointed out towards you as far as he could, and you clambered backward up the steps. Your hands scratched and scraped the wood, and your legs bumped against the stairs as you tried to get away on your back. Curly just kept looking at you, all the while savoring the moment, his face a smile of unmatched malice, teeth bared and eyes wild. Isn't this just the turnabout? Huh? Isn't this just the turnabout, huh? The pathetic yeller belly of the gang decides to stick up for themselves for once. Only to end up at my feet once again. Quite ironic, don't you think? He let out a short bark of a laugh. I never fucking liked you. Not sure why I even kept you around. You're stupid, but I guess you have enough of a brain rattling around there to know I didn't like you. In the end, this is for the best, for the both of us. Putting a bullet in your skull will put my mind at ease with what to do with you finally. If I killed you before now, I might have put down morale, killing a pathetic sap that did no harm. I was just looking for an excuse all this time, wasn't I? He cocked the hammer of the gun with his thumb, a theatric to strike fear in you. His hand was shaking ever so slightly, swaying. Despite playing it cool, you could tell it was an effort for him to pull it back. The click of the chamber, relief in his arm. You saw now where he had been shot, just next to his gun arm, a small red hole below his collarbone. And don't think I've forgotten about the bird you ran in here with. Once I've taken care of you, they'll be next. The panic in your heart coalesced as he spoke. You thought about Joseph. Your breath settled in your lungs for the next moment. In that moment, you twisted your body and kicked. Your leg swung through the air and your foot collided with Curly's hand. The momentum of the kick threw his arm, stretching on his injury, sprang the gun from his grasp. His arm bent inward and your foot carried the gun away over the banister to bounce and clatter against the floor. You didn't hesitate to scramble around onto your front and start trying to run up the stairs, Curly still reeling in anger at what just happened. A few clambering steps on your hand and knees were all you made before you were jerked back, your leg held aloft and dragging you. You fell onto the stairs trying to claw at the landing you just reached. Slipping as you were dragged, you collapsed and bashed your chin on a step, teeth clattering together in your skull. Curly had a firm grip on your ankle, and the panic in your heart once again was spreading through your body like blood clouding water. Your ears twitched at the familiar sound, the sound of Curly's knife being pulled from its sheath. No, this wasn't it. This wasn't how you were going to die, scrabbling around on the stairs at a saloon, being pulled up by the leg for butchering like a piece of wild game. He wasn't unbeatable. He wasn't unkillable. You saw it. He bled just like any other mortal man. He hurt just the same as you. You hurt even more than him. Every day for years. Even now, the tear of flesh next to your ribs being pulled on as you clung to the stairs. Pushing off the stairs, you balled your hand into a fist and twisted your body, carrying momentum into your arm and thrusting forward. You focused your eyes on Curly's face and heard a crack as your fist connected with the end of his snout, knuckles hitting bone. Again, you fell onto the stairs as Curly cried out, letting go of your leg to clutch at his nose. You weren't sure if he was more hurt by his bleeding nose or simply his pride for being caught off guard like that, but it was enough. Oh my goodness, I need water. In the few moments he had reeled back, you scrambled up the steps again, making it onto the long landing of the first floor. Running wasn't so easy, with a cut in your side and your banged-up legs after falling onto the stairs. Even so, you moved as fast as you could, looking for something to help, some way out on this floor. You barely had the time to think about your next move before you heard footsteps bound up the stairs behind you and across the landing. Curly was upon you again, and you turned yourself, arm up, trying to shield against him as he flew into you, tackling you to the ground. His full weight hit you like a stampeding horse, your body slamming onto the wooden floor to knock the wind out of you. Your head bounced off the floor as you fell hard, thankful for the rug underneath that softened a little of the blow. On your back, your vision swam for a few moments, coming to you. You see the ceiling and then the snarling, bloodied face of Curly Wolf above you. Oof. He pushed himself up to straddle you, kneeling either side, pinning you down before you could think to wriggle away. You still pushed up and tried to get away, but it quickly became apparent to be fruitless as Curly just started to chuckle with a growl. Where was this fight all this time, eh? This fire and attitude, anyone would think you'd grown a spine finally. Might have been useful if you'd been like this more often. Not that it would change your fate now. Traitors don't get any special treatment, no matter how good they've been. Have to set an example, you know that, don't you? Oh, I forgot he had an accent. Damn it. Curly raised his hand with the... I'm so good at this, I swear. Curly raised his hand with the knife in it, twisting it in his palm to point downwards and grasping tighter. Say your fucking prayers, kid. He raised the knife level with his shoulder, aiming it at your chest, and plunged downward. No thoughts could even pass through your head before your arm shot out, grabbing at the knife. Your hand slid past it and got onto his fist, locking your arm straight, desperately keeping it away despite his immense strength. Every muscle in your arm was screaming with the effort to keep him away, shaking the struggle of force between you, swaying the knife. All the bones and tendons in your wrist felt like they were going to snap as Curly still pushed downward, forcing your arm to bend. You didn't want to die. There was nothing you feared more right now than the thought of metal plunging into your heart. Every second felt like it stretched on. Curly's snarling, sharp-toothed grin was gone, now just a steely gaze that stared towards the knife's goal. You weren't strong enough. As you kept putting up the fight, you got weaker and his arm got lower and lower with yours in tandem. The blade was so close now you could smell your own blood still on it. Gross. Aww. I didn't realize that Wisp is sleeping behind the door. You closed your eyes. Your jaw ached from your gritted teeth. Your arm felt like it was on fire. With what might be your final breath, you gave one last hard push, stretching towards the sky, the knife edge pressed into your skin? I don't know. You pushed and pushed and pushed against the vile knife. Breath held deep in your lungs, a final prayer. Ooh. Your arm sprang out and your eyes snapped open as Curly's arm jerked, and you shoved it away with all your might. Your ears were ringing. 2 gunshots had gone off, and to the immense relief of your arm, Curly rolled off you, bullet holes in his stomach and chest. He tried to stay on his knees but couldn't stop himself from falling against the wall, the side of his shirt stained with red. You rolled to your side without another moment's hesitation, grabbing at the banister to hastily pull yourself up and get away. Curly was still bewildered, and before he could decide what to do next, you carefully kicked a knife out of his hand down the landing. You looked over the banister to the ground floor where the shots came from and saw Joseph in the middle of the saloon, one arm propping him up on a table, the other pointing Curly's revolver up to you on the balcony. He was panting and out of breath, but a smile lit up his face when you met eyes with him. Curly was still against the wall, trying to cover up the holes in his side with a hand, but didn't seem to be trying to get away. He knew he was too hurt. You had the upper hand now. You waved over the balcony for Joseph to come up the stairs. He just sat, shakily standing up and then slowly climbing the stairs, still wary of any tricks Curly might have up his sleeve. Joseph kept the revolver pointed at Curly as he walked over to you, passing it to your hand, keeping it level all the while. The metal of the gun was warm in your hand and sticky with Joseph's blood. You held it firm, wrist straight, fingers on the trigger. Curly's face was no longer angry or focused or anything else you'd ever seen. It was just tired, defeated. He had nothing left, and he knew this was the end. What else was there for him to do? He was at your mercy, and it left a great pit in your stomach, a bottomless well that made you sick to think about. What are you waiting for? End it. Say your prayers then, boss. We both know you're going to hell anyway. He grinned at you, weariness in his eyes, but a smugness in his smile. Don't worry, I'll save you a spot down there. Not that you'll need it after all you've done. What? A saved spot? Oh, I see. You squeezed the trigger slowly and felt the click and pop of the chamber before the deafening bang that left a hole in Curly's head. He slumped against the wall and sat limply, like a child's discarded doll. I guess that's it then. Pretty much. There's still a fight going on outside, but it's not ours. You looked at Joseph, one eye bloody and swollen and staining his feathers red, the other wide and staring at Curly on the ground. You holster the gun and gently touch your hand to Joseph's, brushing his palm. He felt your hand in turn, fingers intertwining. We should wait up here till it's over. Oh, we should wait up here till it's over. Safer, I think. These are the rooms Bartholomew mentioned before. You want to rest in here? You thought about it for a moment. Your only worry was whether you might get blood on something for when Bartholomew came back. Though, considering the state of the saloon already, you thought, what the hell, you'll deal with it later, together. All right, that seems good. Already a bit along the landing, you walked together towards the furthest room. Twisting the handle, you opened the door with some haste, shuffling inside together. You turned and closed the door as quietly as you could, still bumping against the frame, the handle creaking as it turned beneath your hand. Ow. I hurt my arm. Not sure how. Just sitting here, I heard it. Stinky brain does sticky things to body. You waited there facing the door, giving yourself a moment, breathing slowly, feeling the metal in your palm, gripping it tightly. With the door closed, the peppering of gunshots from outside was much softer. You can imagine them as raindrops against the window. Nice room. You let go and turned to look around the room. You agreed. It was nice. It was bright, and the sunlight skimming in through the window, curtains open, fading onto the pillows. A clean bed, a side table, a dresser. You wander over to the bed, reaching out to touch, but thinking better of it when feeling the blood sticking between your fingers. A large rug laid on the floor next to the bed, so instead you lure yourself to sit down on it, leaning back to rest against the bed. You rested your head against it too, at least feeling the softness of the sheets brushing your fur, meeting the curve of your neck. Joseph still stood where he was, looking into the middle distance. After a few moments, his glassy stare turned down to you, coming back to life. What do we do now? We wait. Wait for the fight to die out. Once they realize who's died, they should leave. Hopefully, we won't be looked for. Right. He shuffled over to the bed and leaned down, groaning as he hit the rug, sitting against the bed as you did now. Sit here and hope for the best. As good a plan as we had so far. After he got comfortable, he gingerly lifted a hand up to the long slash on his face. He let out soft, short groans and noises as he tested the cut, checking how bad it was. He pulled his hand away, rubbing his fingers together, inspecting the minimal blood he'd found. Not bleeding too much anymore? Still hurts like hell though, ow. You leaned forward a little to try look at him too, but got a harsh reminder as the cut in your side flared up. At least we'll have matching scars now. Joseph looked at you befuddled for a moment till he realized you meant the old scar over your own eye. Well, I guess. Well, guess it must be fate. Can't complain about that. You smiled at the thought too, reaching your hand up a little to touch the slice in your mouth. You were lucky. It had gone past... What? Why did I read mouth? You were lucky it had gone past the ribs, not through them. If he had twisted the knife, it might have been different. Joseph reached up to his face again, still testing his eye. Hey, stop that, you'll make it worse. He put his hand down shyly like a naughty kid caught in the act. Sorry, it's just hard to ignore. You can get patched up when all the townsfolk come back, I hope. Yeah, I'll be fine, don't you worry. You tried not to worry, settling yourself down, trying to rest. You stare at the wall of the bedroom, unsure what to think, unsure how to feel, tracing the grain of the wood with your eyes. You wonder if the numbness you felt made you a monster, some strange lacking that left you sitting there bereft of feeling. How are you supposed to feel with Black lying in the hills of the town, baking in the desert heat? How are you supposed to feel when Curly was just a few steps outside the door, slumped against the wall? You went over and over in your mind, the knife against your arm, the strain as you fought against him. You thought about how close you'd been to giving out, how close the blade had been, the cold metal threatening to spill your heart. You were brought back from your thoughts as your ears drew your eyes away from the wall down to your side. Ears? Oh, down to where Joseph's hand fidgeted, tapping against the floor. I feel like I keep seeing things out of the corner of my eye. The softest of patters against the rug, an unheard rhythm from within him. His breathing caught your eye too, the noticeable rise and fall of his chest, the long exhales through his nose. Your eyes continued up his sullen face, the feathers of his head subtly shaking, nerves bubbling to the surface. You looked back down to his hand and found yourself reaching across, reaching out to take hold. Joseph jolted as you touched him, his handle was reflexively jerking out of yours. As he came back to the world, he looked down. He relaxed his arm when he saw, squeezing you a little and letting you steal his hand away into your lap. It was trembling as you stroked your thumb over the feathers. Oof, thought I wasn't recording for a second. Sorry. It was trembling as you stroked your thumb over the feathers, squeezing his hand back firmly. Your hands moved around each other, grappling and dancing, exploring each other's fingers and palms. Distraction of each other's furs and feathers, just the two of you. Joseph's arm being pulled away from him started to make him lean, his body subtly shifting inch by inch closer to you. He started to tilt and his head tilted too, lying on your shoulder with a comforting heft of weight. You laid your head on his, feather ends tickling you through your fur. He untwisted his arm into a comfier position, keeping it near. You took a hold again, holding the back of his hand, digging your fingers in between his intertwining. Now you are both still, only the small movements of getting comfortable to disturb you. Hands fidgeting together. We're alive, huh? Did we really do that? Nah, there's no way. I don't know where that accent came from. When we rolled up... I lost it. I totally lost the ability. When we rolled up on Clemency, and I saw y'all, I thought we had no shot. How did we make it out alive? There was an incredulity to his voice that weighed on your heart. He was right. You nearly died. My mouth is tired of using words. Nearly, but you didn't. You were still alive. You were still here with him. I don't think I care about the how or the why. We're still alive, and they aren't. What are you doing back there, Mir? She turns the stare straight at us. All that matters to me is that I am sitting here with you. I can feel how warm you are. Joseph sat up at that, his head no longer... Hold it together, Zell. We're almost done. His head no longer has your shoulder as he turned to look at you. Looking into your eyes, you found your hand let go of his, reaching up, wanting to feel him. Feel his... What is she doing? You found your hand let go of his, reaching up, wanting to feel him. Feel his warmth, the way his stomach moved as he breathed. His heart still beat strong inside him like he was reaching out to you, quickening as you let your hand lay on his chest. All right, you fat baby. You felt your own heartbeat thrumming louder now, like you had just minutes ago. Not out of fear this time, not that kind, as you reached up past his shoulder. He closed his eyes as your hand rubbed gently up his neck, feathers fluffing, stroking up until you cupped his face. The feathers of his face were soft, intermingled with the dust and dirt, the specks of dried blood that you felt beneath your hand. He opened his eyes again, those big honey gold and brown rings that started to flick around your features, studying you, looking at you in a way you don't think you ever
have been before. He cleared his throat, a little dry and unsure of his words, but wanting to say them all the same. Oh God. Okay, goodbye headset. You know, did I ever tell you how handsome you are? You couldn't help your little snort as you laughed, turning your face away, giggling over the nervous trip of his words. Griffin! He totally fumbled the landing and stepped all over the keyboard and clicked next. I hate everything. Oh, but there's a history button. Right. I totally forgot that there was a history button. It's my bad. Okay. Robin said, No, I don't think you did. Joseph said, Aw, come on, Robin. Looking back at him, it felt like your faces were closer. Your laughter subsided. No, not that. Yeah. Cheeks started to warm as the sweetness of his words trickled into your thoughts like honey. You found yourself leaning in, slowly as he did, your eyes glancing at each other's mouths. The stretch of tension in your back as your head pushed forward and your hand buried in the softness of his feathers, pulling him closer. Eyes meeting once more just a moment before. They did a heckin' kiss. Here, what are you doing? Your faces met. You pressed your lips to the end of his beak and his hot breath on your lips in your mouth as yours was in his. Gross, dude. I hate mouth kisses. I think they're icky. You'd never kissed anyone like this before. You hadn't met anyone like Joseph before either. You just wanted to be close to him like this. Your heart was beating hard in your chest, your cheeks flushed and hot. Griffin, what the fuck are you doing? You heard what sounded like sweeping, realizing it was your tail wagging across the floor. A few more seconds passed before the kiss was broken, your hand falling from his face to hold onto his arm. You looked at each other with quivering breaths. You could feel the strong rhythm of his heartbeat in your hand. Oh, he threw my watch on the floor, didn't he? It's broken, I think. It's not turning on anymore. I'm very sad. Everything's going wrong all at once. A big, gracious smile spread across Joseph's face. He matched it with a more sheepish one, embarrassed still despite everything. Guessing you never kissed someone with a beak before. No, I haven't. Or anyone without one, for that matter. Well, if that really was your first time, I got nothing to complain about. I'd just say it was a very mammal kiss. Oh, really now? Do educate me. You have a lot of lip to it. Birds can't do that. So, well, you see, we tend to kiss a little differently. Oh my God, she's so fat. She's like 14 pounds, and I'm holding her with one arm. Your face warmed even more, your ears burning as he leaned in closer, talking softly. Let me show you. One hand came to rest on your leg as he leaned forward, his beak passed flush with your snout. You closed your eyes as it came closer, the whispers of his breath warm on your face, as the tip of his beak gently poked at your cheek. He preened and rubbed his beak through your fur, almost nibbling at you, feeling soft scrapes against your skin. Joseph's affection continued against your cheek, the feathers of his face close to your nose, smelling of sweat and tobacco. He nuzzled through the fur of your face a few moments more before rubbing his beak all along your snout as he dipped his head back. You opened your eyes again, bemused by Joseph's new kiss, to gaze upon his bashful face. From the blush of his cheeks and the unusual shyness he was trying to shrug off, you felt as if you'd been entrusted a secret. What do you make of that? I think I liked mine better, but I could get used to those too. Ugh. Trade arms. Okay, I can use the mouse. No, you done? Thank God. He slipped an arm around your back, holding you closer as your heart fluttered at the thought of a familiar kiss. I would be happy to oblige. His face beamed with a warm smile, and he leaned forward to rest his head atop yours. You reached your hand across to him and grabbed his other hand, pulling it into his lap, keeping you all close like a bundle of sticks. letting your mind focus on him, feeling his hand squeeze your side firmly, squeezing his other hand back. Listening to his breathing, to the small shuffles of his clothes, to the faint beat of his heart in his chest. Your ear flicked around a little as you heard something else, some subtle noise you wanted to ignore, focusing on the warmth of Joseph. The fight in the street seemed to be over. No longer could you hear the muffled shots, the pops or bangs or crackles that split the air. What you could hear now, though, were rhythmic thuds, distant and soft but growing louder by the second. It was footsteps. First at the stairs, but now coming along the landing, coming closer. You sat up sharply, knocking Joseph in the chin a little as you heard one of the doors open and then close. Whoever it was checking the rooms. Joseph sat up as he took note of the noises as well, realizing the same as you. Someone was looking for you, or at least someone was looking for stragglers. Listen, the story could have been over already. Why are we still going? Please, I need a break. For a second, I thought he was pointing it at Joseph. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Your hand snapped to your gun and pulled it from the holster, aiming it square at the door. You heard more doors open and close. Whoever it was would be here in just a few seconds. The footsteps grew that little bit louder, and you found something familiar within them. There were 4 footsteps, 2 people, but there was another offbeat thump there, out of pace, a 5th footstep. Oh, it's the sheriff. Okay, thank God. As the hunters came to the door, you realized it was your hand coming down, pointing the gun. You realized what it was, your hand coming down, pointing the gun away. Joseph whispered urgently, "What are you doing?" It wasn't another footstep you heard. It was a thump of a cane. The door swung open with 2 figures standing in the doorway. A moment of uncertainty had you pointing the gun back their way. You put it away again, though, as sure enough, you saw who they were expecting. What? And who's this fella? This was Sheriff along with a man unfamiliar to you, a lanky, serious hair who leaned in, still holding the door handle. Whoa, put that thing away. We don't mean you no harm. Oh, okay, is this a doctor? Both of them had rifles slung over their shoulders, and Sheriff's worried face turned to one of relief when your eyes met. And there I was getting all twisted up, worrying about you two. I knew you'd be all right. Sheriff, what are you doing here? I thought everyone was out of town. Well, everyone is, except us. Oh, I should introduce you. This is Matthew. He stayed behind to help me. I couldn't go with everyone else. I was worried about the town and you boys, so Matthew and I stayed here to help however we could. We were up on the roof shooting as a distraction. I hope it was of some help. Wait, that was you? I thought you were supposed to be pacifists. Well, we didn't actually shoot anyone. We just shot near them. Trying to tip the scales in your favor and give them something else to worry about. Looks like that made the saloon a bit of a target, though. Bartholomew's not going to be happy about this mess. I'm sorry. We'll do whatever we can to help. Matthew waved it off cheerily. Don't worry. My husband's a very forgiving man, but this saloon is like his baby. We did meet the husband, and he does like us. I'm tired. I'm running on fumes to finish this recording. I hope it's not showing too much. My shoulders are really tense from sitting here. He'll want to know you're alright, but after that, he's just going to want to fix it up. So this was the husband. You didn't think your first meeting with him would be like this. Seems like you got banged up pretty bad, too. I don't know if we should have done more. No, I think you may have well saved our lives. We knew the danger of what we were doing. Thank you for helping us like that. You didn't have to. Yeah, thanks. We owe you one. Don't mention it. We'll ask for your help when you're better. Right now, you need some seeing to. Lucky for you, the town doctor's here. Where? You're looking at him. Sorry. Nothing to apologize for. We all had quite the day. What happened to everyone else? We told them to leave. Their bosses are dead, and we said more people will be back soon, too. None of them felt like sticking around. You're safe. Inside yourself, there was some deep sigh of relief you didn't realize you'd been holding on to, like you hadn't breathed right for days. You nodded gratefully. Matthew came to the room and started tending to Joseph first, looking over his injuries. You were both hurt and bruised and bloody, but you were safe now. You wondered how long it would be until you could believe that.
You're not sure if you knew back then, or when you realized that you'd carry the scars from that day for the rest of your lives. You and Joseph were put up in separate rooms at the saloon by Bartholomew and insisted you stay so that Matthew could treat you both. The month you spent resting and recovering there was full of sleepless nights. Nightmares came often, some more vivid than others. You often woke in the early morning to find you in your bedsheets drenched in sweat. Some nights you were woken by Joseph shouting. Those nights you'd sit up in bed, waiting for him to come into your room and crawl in, lying with him until you fell asleep. Other nights, where you felt shaken and sick by what you dreamt about, you'd wake him, asking if you could sleep in his bed. Neither of you talked much otherwise. You kept to yourselves in your rooms, resting. Doctor's orders. You weren't sure of their benefits, but Matthew brought you medicines occasionally, often some concoction involving whiskey. He joked about the perks of having a bartender for a spouse. The taste was vile to you still, but you found it helped just a little. It was odd, you thought, that the respite of bed rest felt like as much work as being up and about at the camp. It sometimes felt like resting was the last thing you were doing. As the days rolled by, there did come the point you'd been waiting for, where you both were feeling fit enough to get up and do something. You still kept to the saloon, only seeing a handful of familiar faces at odd times. The saloon was already clean and mostly fixed up by the time you were recovered, enough to lend a hand. You felt like you'd missed your opportunity to help out, but Bartholomew assured you he'd need help with the new windows when the new windows were to be fitted. It also brought up that neither of you had joined in on the nightly gathering at the saloon, that now you were better, everyone would love to see you. You'd heard the gatherings all those nights you'd been resting. Attendance waxed and waned, but every night the saloon was bustling and merry, full of people enjoying each other's company, singing songs, telling stories. Everybody's come for pets today. What? Stop. I don't know what you clicked, so stop it. Oh, Jesus. The idea of being in the midst of that crowd put ice in your stomach. Joseph happily agreed to come along to the next gathering, and so did you. You knew really that it would be good to be around people. Now here you were, standing in front of the window in your room, looking out past the vague reflection of your face in the glass. Night had fallen, lights in the houses down the street snuffed one by one as people left for the saloon, the downstairs filling with the town. Already you could hear the muffled sounds of mingling, clatter, spatters of loud laughs that had grown familiar to you through the walls. You kept looking out the window into the dark desert, knowing that you'd have to move soon, just waiting another second, another minute. You had to go on, leave the room. It's kind of too bad that we didn't get to see a javelina person. That kind of would have been exciting. A short sigh at yourself sent you off, walking across the room to meekly open the door. You pulled it open just a crack, the warm lamp light in the saloon spilling in, and to your surprise you found Joseph standing there, one hand raised, about to knock on your door. He flashed you a little smile, clearly asking it if he could come in. You opened it just enough to let him in before closing it, leaning with your shoulder to the door as he stood close to you. Hey. Hi. Your greetings practically stumbled over each other, both clearly antsy, trying to get some words out. Are you ready? Are you ready, kids? You chewed the inside of your cheek a little as you thought. You wanted to be ready. Don't step on my keyboard, Stinky. Okay. You wanted to go down and see the people who had cared for you. Joseph was here, too. It would be fine. I'm not ready either, if it helps. I figured if we dilly-dally about it, though, we'll never be ready. Yeah, you're right. You sighed as Joseph patted you on the shoulder, a little reassurance to get you going. All right, let's go have a good time. Griffin, I can't see. That's the spirit. Joseph followed close behind as you opened the door wide and stepped out, eyes adjusting from the darkness of your room. He closed the door as you left, and you walked along the landing together down the stairs, looking over the disparate crowds. Clemency was a small town, but with so many packed in here, it felt like even the busiest of bars you'd glanced inside before. As you neared the bottom of the stairs, you heard a voice call out, "Robin! Joseph, over here!" You looked over at the bar and saw Bartholomew waving at you, his arms stuck up high to catch you over the taller patrons milling past. It wasn't just him either. Standing at the bar were other familiar faces you were happy to see, namely Jacob and Sheriff. You took Joseph's hand and walked through with him, excusing your way past people to the bar. Jacob and Sheriff sat along to make some room between them, a friendly gap for you both to squeeze into. "It's good to see you well again, Robin. I found myself rather worried after what happened." "I'm glad to see you too, Jacob. I didn't lose another limb, so I think I have nothing to complain about." He gave you a gentle, reassuring smile, seemingly gently calmed by your jokey reassurance. Sheriff leaned in to address you both. "It's good to see you both in good health. For sure, and you'll be in even better health with a drink down you. Bartholomew?" "That's what I'm here for. On the house, fellas. What are you drinking?" "Damn, really? You sure? We've been taking up your rooms, and now for drinks, you're really spoiling us." "You need something you can toast to your health. Go on, take your pick." Well, I think I'll just stick with a beer." "Alrighty, how's about you, Robin? Can you do me a whiskey?" You felt Joseph giving you a quizzical look, surprised you chose such a hard liquor. "It's Dutchy." "Sure thing. Let me get on those." He turned and busied himself with finding what you ordered, and you looked at Joseph, his face still confused over your choice. "Glad I've acquired a bit of a taste for it." "No. Excuse me, I burped again. Nah, I can respect it. Oh, I haven't eaten yet today." This game better hurry up to be over so I can eat and work out and exist outside of this game. No, I can respect it. Just didn't see it being your kind of thing. I'm full of surprises, huh? Sure. You felt a little blush rise to your cheeks as he gave you a wry smile. Bartholomew set down a stout tumbler of whiskey alongside the beer on the counter. You took your drinks as Sheriff started to speak. "That's more like it. Now a toast to Robin and Joseph. You boys pulled off something incredibly brave, and I'm thankful you made it." "Hear, hear." You went around clinking glasses with Jacob, Joseph, Sheriff, and Bartholomew before taking a sip of your whiskey. Before it even reached your lips, the smell was burning your nose and continued to burn as it slipped down your throat. It was a pleasant burn of sorts, though. You weren't sure if that was the way it was meant to be, but you enjoyed it all the same. "So, boys, I don't know what your plans are now. You're all fixed up, but I thought I'd take the moment to ask if you'd like to stay in Clemency. I really think you'd fit in here. It's just an invitation, mind you. No need to give me an answer now, but just think about it for me." Hello, Wisp. Why is everybody bothering me right this second? I know for a fact you guys have food and water, because of course that's the first thing I do. I didn't even brush my teeth before checking that. You and Joseph glanced eyes for a moment, both humbled and blindsided, unsure what to say. Why did the question leave you gripping your glass, fidgeting your thumb over the rim? Wasn't this something you wanted? "Thank you, Sheriff. That's a very kind offer. We'll have to sleep on it and think." "Not a problem. Just a suggestion, really. Don't mind me none?" I can't see that word. Oh, thanks, Wisp. "Truth be told, I can't say we have much in the way of plans as of now." Yeah, no, I haven't. We've not really thought about what to do next. That was the honest truth. All you had focused on was getting away from Curly, out from under his shadow. Now you're free, you could do anything you could do anything, and yet could think of nothing. The tightness took a hold in your chest. "If it isn't my favorite patients." Matthew came wandering over to the bar and greeted you both with a beaming smile. "Great to see you up and at it." "Well, thanks to you, Doc." Oh my god, why is this still ongoing? I love this game, but like the ending is so drawn out for no reason that I can see yet. "Aw, you're too kind. I'll drink to that."
He took a swig of beer of the beer he held. Okay, good girl. He took a swig of the beer he held, as did Joseph in kind. I'm setting up a poker game right now, so I thought I'd wander around and see who's the game. I'll join in. Alrighty, I've got another guy as well, so just need at least one more person. You able to sneak away from the bar, huh? He spoke past you to Bartholomew, who rolled his eyes. I admire your tenacity, Matthew, but I'm not gonna join in on your poker no matter how many times you ask. Alright. Can't blame a man for trying. Joseph caught your eye and gave you a look to ask you mind if I could go, to which you just nudged him encouragingly with your elbow. I'm game if you're prepared to lose. That's fighting talk. I should have known you'd be up for it. Come with me to the table. Joseph gave your arm a gentle squeeze before he grabbed his beer and headed with Sheriff towards the back of the saloon. You watched him disappear into the throng of people before turning back to the bar, just left with Jacob and Bartholomew. Not a gambler then, Jacob? Oh, heavens, no. Not that I have any particular objection. I'm just terrible at it. I have to say my poker face is quite dire. I was not paying attention to who was talking. You chuckled at that, certainly seeing how it could be the case. Your eyes turned down to your drink, small talk dying away. Staring in the clear liquid that streaked the glass, you rolled it around in your hand. You're a whiskey drinker now. You couldn't have foreseen that a month ago, nor could you have foreseen before that you'd meet Joseph, that you'd end up here having left the gang, Curly gone. Thinking back on it, it felt like you were always going to be under Curly's thumb. What else was there for you? That was going to be your life until the tides of fate swept you elsewhere. You didn't think you'd ever have a chance like this. Now you have the chance to choose your life. Everything is still just as hazy. What comes next? I know that look. You turned your eyes up to Bartholomew as he put his elbows on the bar, leaning in with a friendly, knowing demeanor. That's the face of someone with a lot going on in the upstairs. That, or there's something very interesting at the bottom of that glass. You thinking about what Sheriff said? Yeah, it's just, I don't know. What are your plans now? You must have some idea what you want to do. I can't say I do. I've not thought about it, I guess. You don't have to stay in Clemency. You could just go anywhere, really. Oh, yes, I would agree. Traveling is an incredible way to learn and discover what kind of man you are. What kind of man? Indeed, it's easy when young to think you know the world, think you know yourself well. That's what I thought before I went on my pilgrimage. The man who left Pennsylvania all those years ago is not the same man who arrived in Clemency. But, I mean, they've kind of been traveling around all this time already, haven't they? Because they were in a gang that roams the land and tussles with folk. I don't know if I read that or not, sorry. Convening with your fellow people gives you a great deal of clarity and substance to your character. I think I see what you mean. You knew what he meant, of course. You'd run with Curly for years now. Who you were when you left home and who you are now are strangers to each other. You weren't sure if that person from years ago met you now that you'd be someone you wanted to know. It's not just yourself, either. You can learn a lot about someone else from traveling with them. Me and Matthew learned so much about each other on the trail, both the good and the bad. I don't think you really know someone till you've had share the same bed for weeks on end. It could be good for you and Joseph. Honestly, they could have been sharing the bed the whole time. I don't know why they weren't sharing a room. It would have taken up less space. I don't know. Whatever. It's not my business. Maybe. You can feel your cheeks turning red. Joseph had talked about riding east before, but that was more like running away at the time. But Bartholomew said stuck to your head. Do you even know Joseph? Do you really know him? You thought you did, but really you've only just met. You don't really know that much about each other. While you may feel things for him, you never have anyone else. You've gone through hell and high water to be here together. Is that enough? Is that a reason to stick together? Do you want to know who he is? Do you want him to know who you are? You have no idea what the future holds. You have no idea about anything. You don't know Joseph. He doesn't know you either. You don't even know yourself. Tar was welling up in your chest,
coating your insides, making you heavy. Breathing deep, tapping your fingers on the bar. It was too warm in here. Too many people. You needed some air. You feeling all right, Robin? His words snapped you out of your thoughts, but the feelings remained. You nodded subtly. Yeah, I think I'm going to go outside and get some air. Giving them both a weak smile of reassurance, you left your drink on the bar and stepped away, passing strangers to head out the doors. The night air was refreshing as it cooled your head. You welcomed the chill breeze from the desert that ruffled through your fur. You didn't hang around long on the saloon porch, walking away into town, leaving behind the yellow light that spilled from the windows. You left the town, too, past the sign that read its name, making your way up a path at the outskirts that brought back forlorn memories. Memories of feelings not unlike the ones you were harboring now, as you stood at the top of your climb on a familiar cliff. You took slow, deep breaths of the night air, filling your lungs, clearing your head. You wandered over to the cliff edge and gazed over the town, the light of the saloon stark against the inky dark. The desert was quiet save for the whistle of the wind carrying the chirp of insects. You crouched down and fell on your haunches, sitting and letting your legs hang over the edge of the cliff. I'm so hungry now that I realized that I haven't eaten. Damn it. It was funny to think of how many life-changing things had happened to you up here. Meeting Joseph, spending the night with him, sowing the seeds of your plan to be free. Was there some comfort to being up here, perhaps? Fond and fresh memories that calmed you, reminding you why you were here? Still, there was a gnawing feeling on your heart, no matter how much you hoped for there not to be. Why are you feeling like this? Why are you so worried? Why are you so scared? What's wrong with you? Shouldn't this freedom you have now be a good thing? Why does it feel like everything is about to come crashing down around your ears? What about Joseph, sweet Joseph, that you made a promise with? You let out a heavy sigh. You didn't expect to be weighed down with so many thoughts tonight. This was supposed to be a celebration. Now you were up here, away from everyone, many contradictions running through your mind. That's always been your answer to things, running away. The only time you didn't was because of that promise. How stupid can you be to choose to fight and then want to run away from everything you were fighting for? You'd probably run away from yourself if you could. You just wished you could answer why. You sat for a little while. The wind up here was still a pleasant breeze. It blew past your head, cooling your warm ears, taking small grains of sand with it that floated off the cliff. Not thinking about much at all as you looked out into the night at the distant dark blue silhouettes of hills. Howdy, stranger. What brings you out here? You were drawn from your trance by Joseph's voice all of a sudden. You were so out of it you hadn't even heard him approach. You turned and looked up at him. He was standing a few paces away, his beer in one hand, your whiskey in the other. Mind if I join you? You gnawed at the ground, letting him know he could come sit. He walked over and lowered himself carefully to sit next to you, keeping the drink steady. He held your whiskey glass out to you by his fingers, and you took it as he put it on your palm. Thanks. No problem. So like I said, what brings you out here? You absent-mindedly scratched the side of your glass with a blunt claw as you thought of your answer. I just needed some air. Yeah, it was a little stuffy in that saloon. If you ask me, we did Bartholomew a favor breaking some windows. Air out the place. You giggle a little at that. He was good at making you feel better. How are you always so charming? It seems to come so easy to you. He looked a little bashful at the comment, scratching his head, unsure what to say. I don't know. I just picked it up over the time, I guess. Helps get you out of fights and whatnot. Yeah, that makes sense. You feeling all right? Didn't say anything when you left. Sorry I didn't want to bother you during your poker game. You thought about what you wanted to say, but so many things vied for your tongue. Everything swelled up inside you, chest fit to burst. You didn't know if you could admit how you were feeling to him. It almost felt too personal. It felt wrong. It felt harsh. I feel strange. That's the simplest way I can put it. He looked at you a moment, eyebrows cocked, unimpressed. Lay it on me. Huh? Lay it on me. I want to know what you're thinking. I know you've got stuff on your mind. You ain't telling me. You blew through your lips with a sigh, thinking a sigh, thinking about whether you should. He was right after all. You don't have to hide how you feel anymore. If you were honest, you didn't want to keep hiding it. I'm scared, I guess. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. What am I going to do next? Everyone at the saloon was asking us about plans, and I realized I don't have any. I didn't think that far ahead. Now we're here, I don't know what to do. I feel like an animal that's been let out of its cage and gotten lost in the wilderness. But what are you scared of? What's the worst that could happen? I don't know. That's why I'm scared. What if I do the wrong thing, make the wrong decision? What if I decide to settle down in clemency, like Sheriff said, and I don't like it? Where would I go? I've had so much of my life wasted running with Curly. I don't want to lose more of it to bad decisions. I've made too many of those. I don't want to waste my life either. We can make those choices together now, though. We can turn over a new leaf. I know we could, but I'm worried about you, too. I was talking with Jacob and Bartholomew, and I realized I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. You don't know me either. Joseph's face was solemn. He just stared into your eyes like he was trying to unpick some meaning from your expression. I've done horrible things, Joseph. So have I. I don't know that I like the person I've become after Curly. I don't trust myself. You did what you needed to stay alive. You don't have to like it. You were growing frustrated with his rebutals, like he wasn't listening to you. You twisted your body around, one leg up, facing him head on. I love you and I'm scared of hurting you. I'm scared that the man who could hurt Curly is the same man that could hurt you. I'm scared that if we really knew each other, we wouldn't be here in the first place. The wind whistled in your ears. Joseph's face was still. Eyes squinted a little, contemplating your words. A few moments passed before he opened his beak to speak. I love you too, and I'm not scared of you. I want to find out who you are and hope I have the courage to let you find out who I am. I'm scared as all hell too. I know what you mean. Sorry, I got a tickle. Now that I'm free of the gang, I don't know what to do with myself. All I know is I want to be with you. Maybe we'll make bad choices, but who cares? You help show me I don't have to live my life in fear, Robin. I think if we're scared, it means we have our heads screwed on right, but doesn't have to stop us from living. We can make whatever mistakes we want. We can stay in clemency forever. We can go traveling the country. I don't give a hoot. Tonight ain't the night to worry about the rest of your life. Whatever happens to us, if I can kiss your face at the end of the day, then everything will be all right. A great wave of relief washed over you as Joseph spoke. You didn't realize how much you needed to hear that from him. A kiss and a prayer? He laughed. Yeah, on a kiss and a prayer, we'll be just fine. Story of our lives, huh? He leaned in and pecked you on the cheek, bringing a blush of warmth to them that even the night breeze could not cool. Seems pretty good to me. Now come on, let's get back down there and have a good time. I think someone said they were going to dust off that old piano and play us a tune. I don't know why I said it like that. He made to stand up, but you reached out, placing your hands over his. Wait, is it alright if we just sit here a little longer? Then we can go down. It's a nice night, is all. He smiled, eyes softly tilting to the sky, looking at the stars. Sure is. You want to stay here a spell? That's just fine by me. As he settled back down, he scooted over closer to you, shoulder to shoulder, and... I didn't read that. You slipped your hand into his, and he held yours tightly, squeezing back between your fingers. The night may be cold, but he was all the warmth you needed. You spent so long looking out for yourself, looking out for people who didn't care about you. Now you can look out for each other. Oh, is this the end? The end. Oh, that little icon, it's so cute. Fake gamer comics. That was pretty good. I really liked that. I was letting it sink in while we watched the credits a little. I am starving. But I'm glad I played this. Make this little gay game. Aw. What was I saying? I don't know. All I know is that I'm starving. That's the end. Thank you for playing Lookouts. This has been a huge project for both of us, and we're super proud and happy we've been able to share it with you after so long. If you enjoyed the game, please leave a comment or rating on Itch.io, Twitter, whatever. We love hearing from people about their time with the game. If you'd like to support us, we can keep making games. You should check out the paid Gold Edition. It's only $5 to $6 on Itch.io. The Gold Edition comes with a bunch of stuff like the full soundtrack, loads of original art and doodles, wallpapers for desktop, mobile, and development. Once again, thank you for playing from the bottom of our hearts. Okay. Coal and hockey. Yeah, there's not really a start screen. Anyway, thank you everybody so much for coming out and playing with me. I had a ton of fun. I hope you did too. The ending really took a long time to complete. I'm not sure if sorry. If it's because I'm hungry and tired, or if it was just a bit mistimed. I don't know. Anyway, make sure to stretch, drink some water, take care of yourselves. Maybe eat something before recording 4 hours. And I'll see you all in the next one, alright? Bye!